can put it in anytime we want to.
Right.
Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everybody to the afternoon public hearing portion of the Board of County Commissioners meeting from December 13th. We're reconvening at 1:30. Would like to do I have a motion for acceptance of proof of publication?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I'm going to read the rules for the public hearings this afternoon, and they are available out in the lobby for anyone that would like to go back and review them. It's lengthy, so bear with me, but pay attention. So our rules for public hearing are that our staff will present each item for consideration with a staff recommendation associated. The board will have an opportunity to then ask questions of staff when presentations have finished. The applicant will then have an opportunity to make a presentation, and the board will have a chance to ask questions once the presenter has finished. Members of the public interested in speaking either for or against the project or issue are being asked to fill out a form, either yellow or green. So if you intend to speak this afternoon, I'd ask you to go ahead and get one of those forms out of the lobby and fill it out now and hand it in to Ms. Beach at the front desk. Members of the public will only be allowed to give comment once per item. If you would like to have your comments submitted for the record, you can fill out the green form located in the lobby. Speakers should state their name and address clearly for the record and whether you are for or against the item. Speakers will be given 3 minutes to speak unless they are the official spokesperson for an HOA or a legally organized group, and then they will be given 6 minutes. The assumption there is that no one else then from your HOA or organized group will be speaking. That's their 6 minutes. If a board member has questions regarding the speaker's comments, an opportunity will be given once the speaker's time has expired. Speakers should limit their comments to pertinent information regarding the agenda item under discussion and keep their comments brief. The clerk's office is required to retain any documents or photographs, drawings, etc. that are presented to the Board of County Commissioners. So if you show it to us today, please plan on leaving it here with us. Once all of the speakers are heard, the applicant will have an opportunity for rebuttal if necessary. We will close the public hearing and put the matter in the hands of the Commission for discussion, recommendation, or motion. Following a motion and second, there will be a board discussion and a vote will be taken. Commissioners who do not cast an objecting vote will be considered to have voted in support of the motion. Good?
Okay.
I think that's it. All right. I want to thank you all again for being here. I'm going to turn over, our first item is a quasi-judicial item, so there's more rules, so tune back in. While the board welcomes comments from all persons with an interest in this proceeding, Florida law requires that the board's decision in a quasi-judicial action be supported by competent, substantial evidence presented to the board during the hearing of the application. Competent substantial evidence is such evidence as a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses. Persons presenting testimony may rely on factual information that they present that is presented by a county staff that the applicant presented, or on factual information included in the county staff report to support their testimony. All persons who present written materials to the board for consideration must ensure that a copy of the materials is provided to the clerk for inclusion in the board's record of proceeding and official minutes. Has any commissioner received any ex parte communication that they want to submit?
I'd like to submit mine.
Yes.
It's been done.
Let's do one at a time.
Mine has been done electronically, but this is a recap of all my electronic filings.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Herr?
Mine will be done electronically this afternoon.
Mine has already been submitted electronically, thank you.
And Commissioner Constantine?
Mine has been electronically.
And mine as well. All right. All right. At that, with all of those details out of the way, I'd like to turn it over to Kathy Hamill for item 41, Mecca Hammock Communication Tower.
Good afternoon, Kathy Hamill, Development Services. This is a request to construct a 160-foot monopole communication tower and its associated compound in the A1 zoning district. The applicant will be leasing a 100 by 100 area on the 30-acre property for the communication tower and its associated compound. The request for the communication tower at this location is to provide service in an area that historically has had coverage issues. There are no existing structures and/or co-location opportunities that are acceptable to meet the coverage or capacity needs of this area. The applicant's client is currently having coverage issues in the area, which includes the section of State Road 417 crossing Lake Jessup. In reviewing the request for communication tower, local governments must ensure we follow the state and federal regulations that I have provided in your staff report. In compliance with the Seminole County Land Development Code, the applicant did conduct a community meeting on May 24th, and at the time of the community meeting, the applicant was proposing a 190-foot communication tower. But in response to the concerns stated at the community meeting and working with the district commissioner's office, the applicant lowered the communication tower height to 160 feet. The proposed placement of the communication tower does meet all of the residential setbacks, which is 480 feet, while minimally impacting the wetlands located on the parent parcel. The applicant is currently mitigating the wetlands through the processes with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and the St. Johns River Water Management. And the final mitigation will be required at site plan. Based upon the submitted site plan, the proposed communication tower meets the minimum separation requirements as stated previously, and the applicant has indicated that all co-location opportunities have been explored and deemed unacceptable. For the meeting, the capacity needs of the provision of a service area across its network. The communication tower will have a minimum of 4 carriers, which is consistent with the county's goal for co-location. On Number 5th, the Planning and Zoning voted to approve this request, and we are also recommending the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception and the associated development order for 160-foot communication tower in the A1 zoning classification located on the south side of Tortilla Trail, approximately a quarter mile south of Myrtle Street. This concludes my presentation, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Commissioners, are there any questions? Stop. Commissioner Constantine?
I understand, thank you. I understand that this is wetlands, Kathy.
Yes.
So, and I know that you said that the applicant has explored all other possibilities and they're mitigating. But tell me, do you know, since it's a heavily wooded or brushed area, how many trees or whatever, or are there no trees and it's just brush?
I would have to have the applicant. I'm sorry, sir, I don't have that information on the top of my head. There will be trees removed as part of that, and there's not an opportunity to plant additional trees because we don't want to disturb the surrounding wetlands any further.
Okay. Then if the applicant comes up, I'd like him to answer that question.
Is the applicant present? All right. Are there any other questions for staff before we bring the applicant forward? No? All right. Come on. And if you would, please introduce yourself for the record.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mary Solik, 121 South Orange Avenue, Suite 1500, Orlando, Florida, 32801. I'm counsel for Gulfstream Towers. Ms. Hamill's done a very good job of presenting this application to you. To your question, Commissioner Constantine, the tower location is actually on the eastern side of this property, and we are utilizing, for the most part, what was an existing roadway on that property to get into the property internally. So we're using an area that's all mostly previously impacted. We don't have an exact calculation of how many trees are being impacted, but again, we are using an area that was previously impacted. Mike, do you want to expand on that at all?
I guess, if I can, I guess the question would then be, since you're using that, so looking at that piece of property, you're only looking at that little portion that you might disturb, and the rest of it is going to remain as it is?
Absolutely. Now, this may be a little bit deceiving, because let me see if I've got a better site plan for you. Did you have a different?
I can point at it.
Yeah, you can point where we're coming. We're coming from the north. We're not coming from this little access easement, or this, not access easement, it's actually ownership. We're not coming off of Sanford. We're coming from the north off of Tortuga Trail coming south.
All right, so,
Let me,
so where the T is in Tortuga Trail, that's about the approximate location of the tower. So we're accessing from Myrtle Street and then going south on Tortuga to the east side of the property.
and that was a previously existing roadway. As much as I hate to fuss with a recommendation of approval, I do have a couple of proposed changes to the development order. Can I lay this up on the,
That's very interesting.
can I talk from here? There we go. And I apologize for my chicken scratch. On item F, we'd like to add the language that there will be the tower will be designed to accommodate a minimum of 4 carriers. We cannot control when all of the licensed carriers in the marketplace eventually co-locate on the tower. So we'd like to have that proposed change made to that language. And then on item G, we'd like to change the second part of that, so it will read, there will be a bird watching camera installed and the applicant will allow the county to live stream the footage. So those are the two, the tower.
Madam Chairman, can I ask a question? I didn't hear the full verbiage of item G.
What if I said
It's good to
that?
hear.
Okay, there will be a bird watching camera installed and the applicant will allow the county to live stream the footage.
That sounds cool.
Well, you can thank
What?
I said that sounds
Commissioner,
cool.
you can thank Commissioner Zembauer for that.
There's a lot of eagles out there.
So that was his
So
suggestion.
are those
are
only
the two changes,
Okay.
yes.
Is there anything else with your presentation that you would like to?
We're available to answer any other
Okay.
questions you have or respond to any citizen commentary you might receive.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Solik. Any other questions from the board? Okay. Shani, do we have any members of the public to speak? Okay. Any discussion among the board?
Yes.
Commissioner Zembauer.
Well, first I want to thank the applicant for working so closely with my office on behalf of the citizens. This is always a controversial topic. Nobody wants, their piece of paradise invaded, especially where this is located, where there are literally a single resident that is now going to be next to where this exists, and they bought their place. They have no shade. You can literally look out of their house and see all the trees and all the birds and all the wildlife. That said, the applicant has worked within federal and state constraints with us in order to make it as least amount of impact as possible. And I thank you all for doing that. I want to thank the residents for the understanding and working politely with the applicant and with my office to get what I think is going to be ultimately a win-win for everyone. I will have some requirements that I think we should be putting in this development order. I know some of this is done under code, but I want to make sure it's locked down in development order. One is that we make sure that a bond is carried, so once this tower is abandoned, it is removed from the landscape, whenever that may happen. There's been history in this county of towers being abandoned and just left there. And I want to make sure that we put that in a development order, that once it ceases to operate or be utilized, that it is removed. Whether that's through a bond or however the applicant wants to do it, it's fine. I think a bond would be the right vehicle. Secondary to that, the Sanford Orlando International Airport has weighed in this past week on a unanimous vote by their board of directors that they must have a warning light on top of it to protect the sheriff's office as well as other aircraft in that area, even though FAA does not require it. So is the applicant willing to agree to both of those?
Yes, the bond requirement's already part of the code, so we have to do that as a matter of course.
I understand. I just wanted the development order.
Yes, we will agree to the light, but I just want to, we worked with the neighborhood to make sure that we had the least amount of aesthetic impact as possible.
Oh, I understand.
And when you put a light on it, you change it from daylight to 24/7.
I understand.
So I don't want to be seen throwing the neighbors under the bus on this particular
No, and I'm going to have that
requirement.
discussion with my fellow commissioners in a moment. My question is,
If you were, we would agree to it, but again, those neighbors were very, very kind in working with us.
oh, I understand, I get it, I totally do. Okay, that's all the questions I have for you, thank you very much. So, yeah, this is a point of contention with the neighbors, is the lighting. The Sanford International Airport is adamant that it have lighting. It is not required by FAA. Their belief is the sheriff's helicopter and others coming in and around that 417 north of Lake Jessup area need to have a light on that pole. It's going to be a nuisance, I believe, for the residents who have worked diligently with this applicant, with my office, to mitigate the impact as much as possible. So maybe this needs a legal conclusion, or maybe our council can just tell us we're able to do what we want to do. I want to be good neighbors with the residents, but I also want to be good neighbors to our international airport.
In this situation, it's a discretionary action of the board.
Let me ask the applicant one more question. Can a light be added to this structure at any time? Or is it now or never?
Anytime, says my client. I would, yes, anytime.
Okay. So there's another part of the puzzle. Could be added at any time. Should we not do it at this time? And part of the issue is going to be this late development. The resident is not aware that this could happen. It's been discussed.
Right.
And it was a point of contention for the resident out there.
So, do any other commissioners have anything? I just want to throw
Not yet.
something out there. If I could make a suggestion, maybe that we move forward with the development order as is and take up the issue with the concerns of the airport, if it can be added at a later date separately, and not have it be something that's a part of the actual DO. Is that something that Commissioner Zembauer, you would be comfortable with?
I'm okay with that. We can amend it, amend the DO, or put an amendment to it, could we not? Council?
It becomes a public meeting.
Yes, I would suggest that if you are not going to require the light as part of the development order today, that you at least make reference that it will be addressed further, and provided the applicant agrees that upon a final decision of the county, that they will put the light in if directed.
Can we address the light at site plan? Instead of having to come back and amend the development order?
Yeah,
We could.
that's appropriate, yes.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I guess my only other question would be, Commissioner Zembauer, do we have in your research any other existing towers that are this height that have lights on them?
Not that I've been able to find.
So my
There's
only-
none that close to the airport, I guess is the real answer.
Okay.
It's required at a certain height under FAA. The applicant has reduced that height, so a light does not have to go on it to help appease the community, so they're not overburdened with that light 24/7.
Ms. Solik?
200 feet is the height required, is the threshold height under the FAA regulations to light it, so we're 40 feet below that.
Commissioner Herr?
I think I'd just like to better understand why the airport board, so not engineers, not safety experts, not, like, what caused them to take it up, and what's causing them to act outside of FAA regulations. So that's number one. And number two, we're speaking about the sheriff's office as though they don't have an opinion, and it would be interesting to hear their opinion, the opinion of their pilots, although we're not asking anybody else's pilot opinion. It just seems odd to me that there's a request here that's different from FAA regulation.
Right. And I asked that question during the board hearing, and their flight safety coordinator, Mr. Speak, weighed in heavily on the safety needs for it there.
Okay.
I think it's best taken up at a separate time.
I agree with that. So would the district commissioner like to make a motion?
I will. I'll move a motion, recommend the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception associated development order for a 160-foot communication tower in A1 zoning classification located on the south side of Tortuga Trail, approximately 1/4 mile south of Myrtle Street, with the addition of a bond to go into the development order for the destruction and removal of the tower once it is no longer functioning, as well as to take up a light on top of the tower at the time of final site plan configuration, as well as get with Seminole County's airport and figure out what they're doing.
I'll second with the friendly amendment to add that there will be the suggestion to F, that there will be a minimum of 4 carriers accommodated, not 4 carriers implemented.
Sure. Yep, provisions to do that. Sure.
And the second language, the second piece with the request that the county live stream the footage on the
Right.
camera.
You're going to provide the footage and we'll stream it,
Okay,
right?
You're going to provide the footage, and we're going to determine what we do with it.
yes.
So friendly-
Eagle Cam.
Friendly amendment, well,
Maybe?
depends on what it
Yes.
costs.
So Commissioner Zembauer, would you restate all 4 points of that motion for us?
Yes, that there will be an addition in the development order for a bond or other financial mechanism to ensure destruction and removal of the tower once it ceases to operate. Amend the development order to indicate that it will be equipped to handle 4 carriers and not necessarily have 4 carriers on it. Designed.
Yeah.
As well as the cam, the Eagle Cam or Bird Cam, you will supply the footage to Seminole County, and Seminole County will do what we want to at that point.
Yes.
And then we will bring up the light at the top of the tower at final site plan.
Right. All right, so the motioner, seconder agrees.
Seconder agrees.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say, oh,
Can we hear from the public?
I thought we
Already
asked
asked.
for public input. Nobody cared.
not.
No one wanted
We have no
to.
public input?
No, sir.
Commissioner Delary, I brought you one with, not a packed house.
Duly noted.
It just seemed too easy, didn't it, Commissioner DeLauro?
No, I didn't hear you ask for the public.
I took that hit for you over the last year. It's
That's
good.
all right. So we have a motion and a second. I think we've discussed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I would just ask that staff reach out to Sanford, Orlando International Airport, and let's get some rock-solid evidence of what their requests are so we can move forward with that.
Moving forward to item number 42, Paddock Way rezone, Project Manager Joy Giles.
Good afternoon. Joy Giles, Senior Planner for the Planning and Development Division. The applicant is requesting approval of a rezone for the the applicant is requesting approval of the Paddock Way rezone from A1 Agriculture to PD Plan Development on 34.23 acres located on the the north side of Lake Hayes Road, approximately a 1/4 mile east of LFA Trail. Oops, there we go. I would like to bring it to the board's attention that a revised master development plan and associated documents were distributed this morning and also uploaded to the online Novus agenda as the last attachment under item 42, named revised documents. The applicant proposes to develop a single-family residential subdivision of 91 lots with a maximum density of 2.66 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The applicant proposes a lot size of 10,800 square feet with a minimum lot width of 90 feet along the west portion of the west perimeter of the development, and a minimum lot size of 8,400 square feet with a minimum lot width of 70 feet along the eastern portion of the development. The development will be constructed into 2 phases. The subject property has a low-density residential featured land use designation, which allows a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The subdivision will have 2 access points onto Lake Hayes Road, which is classified as a local road. I would also like to bring it to the board's attention that there is an existing 33-foot strip, or 33-foot wide strip of land along the south perimeter of the property, just east of Paddock Way. On the original plan submitted, that portion was shown to be included into the subject property. However, it was discovered last week that that portion is actually already dedicated as Seminole County right-of-way, so that was then excluded from the legal description and the overall acreage of the development, and that is shown in the revised documents. Let's see, the existing 40-foot wide easement known as Paddock Way will continue to serve as a primary access to the 2 remaining 5-acre parcels along the north perimeter known as the Lake Hayes Woods 5-acre development. Paddock Way will be owned and maintained by the proposed development's homeowners association. The applicant proposes a 10-foot wide landscape buffer along the perimeter of the development, excluding the portion along the west boundary adjacent to the north and east perimeter of the Magnolia Point subdivision as shown on the master development plan. A 6-foot-high masonry wall is proposed along the internal right-of-way of the development where the right-of-way abuts the Magnolia Point subdivision along the west perimeter, also adjacent to Lot 11 as shown on the plan. The buffer along the north and east perimeter of the development adjacent to the Alafaya Woods subdivision is proposed as a 10-foot wide fence buffer easement. A 6-foot-high opaque fence will be located on the outside edge of the buffer with plantings on the inside. A portion of the planting components may be redistributed to other open space tracts in order to allow internal lots to have their side yard fences extend into that buffer easement. That way there's no creation of that no man's land with the landscaping on the outside. Staff has evaluated the proposed plan for consistency and compatibility with the Seminole County Comprehensive Plan and Chapter 30 of the Land Development Code. Staff finds that the proposed development supports the objectives of the PD zoning classification by providing the minimum required open space of 15%, landscape buffers, and transitional lot sizes to provide compatibility with the existing residential developments. The western and southern perimeter of the property is surrounded by the R1AA single-family dwelling zoning classification, requiring a minimum lot size of 11,700 square feet and a minimum lot width of 90 feet. The applicant proposes a minimum lot size of 10,800 square feet with a minimum lot width of 90 feet adjacent to that existing R1AA. Let's see, the applicant also proposes the eastern perimeter of the subject site is adjacent to the Alafaya Woods subdivision located within the city limits of Oviedo with a minimum lot size of 7,350 square feet and a minimum lot width of 70 feet. The applicant proposes a lot size of 8,400 square feet adjacent to Alafaya with a minimum lot width of 70 feet. The subject site is surrounded by low-density residential future land use designation, which again does allow a maximum density of 4 dwelling units per net buildable acre. The land use requires a full range of basic services and facilities and provides an effective transitional use between more intense urban uses and suburban estates. The applicant proposes a density of 2.66 dwelling units per net buildable acre for a maximum of 91 lots, which is significantly less than the allowable density of 4 units per acre. The subject site is approximately a half a mile east of Alafaya Trail, which is classified as an urban principal arterial road, providing convenient access to transit facilities and urban services. Staff has also evaluated the plan layout for compatibility with Chapter 35 of the subdivision regulations. As shown on the exhibit map labeled Internal Access in your agenda package, the connection width to the northwestern parcel of the proposed development is 47 feet wide, and the required right-of-way width is 46 feet wide, leaving only 6 inches on each side of the proposed right-of-way to the perimeter of the development. The access location is contiguous to Lot 11 of the Magnolia Point subdivision on the west and contiguous to the unplatted parcel 4B on the east. If the proposed internal right-of-way becomes contiguous to any portion of Lot 11 or that 4B, or I'm just going to focus on Lot 11 right now because 4B actually is not improved with the home, but Lot 11 is. Lot 11 will then be defined as a corner lot and will be non-conforming for side street building setbacks. In addition, walls, fencing, and vegetative screening must be set back no less than 1 foot from the right-of-way. The remaining 6-inch strip of land on each side of the proposed right-of-way does not provide adequate width to install a wall and landscaping for privacy and safety measures, and does not provide adequate width for the maintenance of a wall or fence. In conclusion, staff has determined that the proposed development is consistent with the comprehensive plan and Chapter 30 of the Land Development Code for both density and lot width and size. However, staff has determined that the plan is not consistent with the intent of Chapter 35 subdivision regulations, inasmuch that a 6-inch strip on the land remaining between the proposed right-of-way and the perimeter of the development is not adequate to install a wall or buffering for the purpose of not creating adverse impacts to the existing single-family residential adjacent on the west. The Planning and Zoning Commission Board met on November 2nd, 2022, and voted 4-2 to recommend approval of the request. Staff recommends the Board of County Commissioners deny adoption of the proposed ordinance enacting a rezone from A1 to PD, and deny approval of the associated master development plan and development order on 34.23 acres. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Giles?
Not at this point.
All right. Shani, do we have members of the public here that would like to speak? All right.
Can we hear from the applicant first?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Moorhead, yes, you may. I was remembering Commissioner Delary being so concerned about hearing from the public. I got to it quickly.
Go good.
Mr. Moorhead, please, with your presentation.
Yeah, Chad Moorhead, Madam Moorhead and Stokes, 431 East Ratio Avenue. Got a little bit of a presentation here today, and honestly, this is a first for me in doing work in the county for plus or minus 25 years. We're coming to you guys with a recommendation for denial from staff. I would hope that you guys would go with the recommendation from Planning and Zoning for approval based on the presentation I'm about to give, and why we think what we'll call the pinch point, which is the reason for recommendation for denial from the staff, is why we think what we're proposing is reasonable and works. Actually, go to where it says view up at the top right there. Sorry, just one second. And full screen mode. Keep going. Right there. 12. And we can work it like this. Okay, our first map here, and I bought a new toy. You guys are all looking this way, so I'll come back with it. But
Here, Chad, do you want to, you can change it.
Yep. So the pinch point is here. This first map shows basically this project is infill. It's got development all around it, all 4 sides, with similar type lots. Sorry, I'm going to have to keep turning around. I'm going to need you to zoom out because we can't see what we're looking at there. Yep. Next one's just a blow up. Unfortunately, the first one was very similar with the way it was blown up to what we have here. I don't think I can scroll in and out, can I? Sorry about this, but this is the same map that Joy just showed you guys, showing that everything around us for the most part is low-density residential up to 4 dwelling units per acre. Next slide shows that it's A1 zoning, which I believe most of you guys know that that's more or less a holding pattern zoning inside the LDR, future land use. This is our master development plan. You zoom out. Yep. So the 33-foot area that Ms. Giles was talking about was in this area right here. It was roughly about a half an acre that unfortunately when we did title work on the property, it was not uncovered that it was already a 33-foot right-of-way that was dedicated back in the 50s. And so it just didn't go back that far. And also the property appraiser doesn't show that as right-of-way either. So it was an honest mistake. Next slide. You're going to have to zoom in and out for me. Very similar, or the same slide that Ms. Giles showed earlier, showing the pinch point, showing the 70-foot lots on the east and the 90-foot lots on the west. And then all right, this is a blow-up of the pinch point, the 47-foot. The 47 feet is only right here. So what we are proposing is a private right-of-way. We're going to gate both sides of the subdivision on the west side and on the east side. And what we have proposed in planning and zoning, what they recommended approval on, was a 40-foot wide private right-of-way. We have a sidewalk on one side of the street. We meet standards for pavement width. The sidewalk on the one side of the street with the 6-inch raised curb meets FDOT requirements for curb and clearance. And then really the difference, I'm going to show you another section in a second, but the difference is where we put the wall. This particular one shows it 5 feet off what would be the property line, and the next one will show it on the property line. This is really the difference between the two. Let me go one more. This is the other section that shows it right here. And then our rendering of the buffer plan shows how we're mitigating for the concern from staff and also the lack of the 46-foot right-of-way. We could fit the 46-foot right-of-way in there, but I do agree that 6 inches is not enough between the right-of-way and the property line. So I went back and researched some projects for right-of-ways that are less than 46 feet throughout the county. And I do a few. I don't want to bore you with all of them.
I have a question before you move from that, if I may, Madam Chair.
It's the applicant's time in his presentation if
Instead
he's
of
allowing you to
having reload
interrupt.
that, you say you're going to put a wall on the property line.
Close to it. Obviously, we can't build
Because, I
offsite.
mean, you got trees and brushes and, which look like they're on the property line.
We've got 7 feet in there to do plantings.
Okay, all right.
So
Because I thought you said it was 5 foot off the property line, and now it's going to be on the property line.
those are the two
You have
options.
choice.
Those are the two options. I wanted to
So let's
give
let
that to you guys.
let's let
because-
Mr. Moorhead
Yeah.
finish his presentation, and then we'll have
I just wanted to
questions.
prevent him from having to go back and find it and go back through.
Yeah.
Okay. So, lo and behold, I didn't realize this until just recently, but our neighbors, the Brighton Estates project, which is the cutout, they actually have a 30-foot private right-of-way. That was approved in 2019. We have Parkdale Place, 2018, not far away. This has a 40-foot right-of-way. Pearl Lake Estates, which is closer out Markham Woods area, these are 30-foot right-of-ways. Preserve at Lake Sylvan, which is right next door to Pearl Lake Estates, this has 40-foot right-of-ways. Go back a ways, this is probably to the early 2000s, Clifton Park has 30-foot right-of-ways throughout the subdivision. That's just the Clifton Park section. Buckingham Estates, 40-foot right-of-ways. Also Retreat at Wekiva. I didn't have a picture for Retreat at Wekiva, but we did those back, again, in the early 2000s. And then just to go even further back, Bear Gully Point, which was probably done back in the early 90s, that also has 30-foot right-of-ways. So just wanted to show you guys the rationale for what we were trying to do and what we're proposing by doing that. The only spot that I would propose to do the skinnier right-of-way is at the pinch point and in that area, and plan on doing 46-foot right-of-ways, private right-of-ways everywhere else throughout the subdivision, but at that one point. we are proposing to go down to the 40-foot right-of-way. Just to digress a little bit, we had a community meeting. We mailed out over 900 mailers. Staff was gracious enough to let us do our community meeting as a Zoom meeting because we didn't know where we were going to host over 900 people if that happened. From that community meeting, I asked folks to reach out to me if they had specific concerns. And so I'm going to go back a ways here. And I met with, zoom out on that one a little bit. I met with the people that live on this side in the Alafaya Wood subdivision. Their biggest concern was drainage. For the last, however long this development has been here, this entire property has flowed towards them. The runoff and they've had nothing but issues, and they've reached out to the city over the years and possibly the county as well. And I explained to them that we're going to take all of the stormwater that used to run towards them, put it in our retention pond, and put it in the ditch to the south, which is ultimately where it went after it went through their yards. And they were happy with that. They've been happy with it. Beth Mayer, we sat at her house with, I don't know, 5 or 6 of her neighbors. And after that meeting, they thanked me, and I've kept in touch with Ms. Mayer through this whole process. I don't know if she's here today or not, but I just wanted to point that out. And with that, I think, like I said, we agree to, we possibly will lose a lot gating this side of the subdivision, but we will agree to do that and make it a private gated community. With that, I would ask that you go with the planning and zoning recommendation. I'd also like to come back up after the public has a chance to speak and also see if you guys have any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Moorhead?
Not at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. Now I know we have members of the public who would like to speak.
We do.
Okay.
The first one is Philip Gathier.
Mr. Gaither?
Gaither.
All right. Just a reminder, sir, to state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
It's a short period of time.
And
Y'all doing
before you start, Shani, would you mind just having the next person queue up so we know the next?
Sure. The
Okay.
following is Ann Gaither,
Okay.
followed by Cindy Holler.
Okay, fantastic. All right, Mr. Gaither, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. My name is Philip Gaither. I live at 2348 Pine Street. I would like to express my concern about the proposed change of zoning on the Paddock Wave development. We purchased our home over 34 years ago because we wanted to live in a rural environment. We take the county motto, Florida's natural choice, very seriously. Our properties are all zoned R1AA. That is what we bought into, not a high-density, traffic-infested, potentially high-crime area. We feel that that the proposed zoning change would result in just that, and this is simply not acceptable. We are not opposed to having some development of that land. We just want to make sure that the future development is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods so that we can maintain the quality of life that we currently enjoy. The surrounding neighborhoods are in unincorporated Seminole County, are all zoned R1AA. Alafaya Wood subdivision is in the city of Oviedo, not unincorporated Seminole County. Yet the neighborhood is being used as the main basis for allowing much smaller lots. In our humble opinion, Alafaya Wood should not be considered in this equation as it is in the city of Oviedo, which is known for overdevelopment. That neighborhood is high density. It has a 4-lane highway running through it with a traffic light at each entrance. 2/3 of the proposed lots are 70 by 120, which is under 1/5 of an acre, which is basically 0 lot line homes. I mean, spaced that far apart, basically. The 90 by 120 lots are not large enough to meet the requirement of R1AA either. Those lots are a 1/4 acre. None of these lots are compatible with the surrounding area located in unincorporated Seminole County. The neighborhood is not in the urban core, and the change to the net building acreage should not be applied to this scenario. The actual units per acre are 5.1 units for the garden homes and 4 units for the state homes, which is nowhere near the R1AA zoning designation. I mean, you can put lipstick on a pig, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig. Had the rezoning request been for R1AA, as the entire neighborhood is zoned for, better yet, R1AAA, to allow for more natural water retention, we may not have needed to attend this meeting. We do not need a repeat of the enclave apartment complex ruse. I have many concerns about this proposed zoning change, but I'm going to highlight the flooding. The proposed development is near Beverly Street, which has been known to flood after every heavy rain since we've lived here. The water from the drainage canal on Lake Hayes Road floods during heavy storms, not just hurricanes. The road washed out and has some serious erosion during the recent hurricanes. And let's see, it's ever more frequent heavy summer rains, it's the same thing. The drainage from Lake Hayes flows into the Little Econ, onto Lake Harney, into the St. Johns River, the area that had serious flooding and made homes in those areas uninhabitable. Building a high-density development will just add to this devastating flooding. The bottom line is the more rooftops, there's more concrete, more runoff, more flooding. Who will pay for the damage caused by the overdevelopment of the area? You might say the proposed plan has retention ponds to address this. The proposed retention ponds are deemed insufficient for this project per the Planning and Development meeting on 11/16/2022. In addition, climate change will only exacerbate the problem further. I respectfully request that you keep this and all other issues mentioned by those of us speaking today into consideration to shut the zoning down before it spins out of control. Our quality of life depends on it. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Mrs. Gaither?
Good afternoon. My name is Ann Gaither, and I live at 2348 Pine Street. The last time I addressed this commission, it was to express our concern over the rezoning and building of the Enclave apartments. We feel that the Board of County Commissioners were coerced into approving that development, and we don't want to see this bait and switch happen again. That change was based on findings of the civil engineering firm, Biotech, the same company that is consulting on the Paddock Way development. We're sure that everyone is aware of the allegations made that Biotech was providing fabricated findings to get projects justified and approved in the recent Joel Greenberg trial.
Ms. Gaither, we need to keep your comments relevant to this item and not to other people or actions going on in the community.
Okay, now that has affected my time.
It will not affect your time. I just wanted to redirect you.
Okay, but that alone does make me suspicious of anything that is presented. We believe that we're being set up to be deceived again, and we're pleading with you to shut it down. I'll skip over the rest at your request. My main concern about the Paddock Way development is lot sizes of less than 1/5 of an acre not being compatible with the area. All of the surrounding homes are in unincorporated Seminole County and are all zoned R1AA with a minimum of 1/3 acre lots. 2/3 of the lots in the Paddock Way development are 70 by 120. That is virtually zero lot lines. The adjacent properties are in the city of Oviedo, should really not be considered in this equation, in my opinion. The entry point is on Lake Hayes, a narrow, unlit road in horrible condition. There are asphalt patches every few feet. To further complicate the matter, the city of Oviedo is looking to solve their traffic problem in Alafaya Woods by putting a connecting street through to Lake Hayes if this development is approved. That has not been mentioned in the proposed development yet, but we know that it's coming. I'm also concerned that the staff on the DRC recommended that the Planning and Zoning Committee deny this project from moving forward, but it was approved anyway. It was abundantly clear to me that Richard German is completely biased and pro-builder. It was also apparent that two of the other members of the Planning and Zoning Committee were just following the loudest leader.
Comments related to individuals are not what this is for, so we need to keep it on the item that's before us.
Okay, there was much discussion about Pinpoint near Lot 11 of Magnolia Point, and the Planning and Zoning Committee glossed that over with, we are sure that they will figure out how to narrow things down. Seriously, they handed him a blank check. The right-of-way required is 46 feet. The developer barely has 47 feet. The staff stated that they'd like to see 10 feet on either side of the road to allow for utilities and maintenance of the wall. Currently, there are only 6 inches on each side. Is there even enough clearance for a fire truck or a school bus to turn around in that bottleneck? I think not. I noticed that there are at least 12 other items regarding public safety and the fire marshal on the staff comments listed as not met. That is not okay. In my humble opinion, nothing about this proposed project is okay. Thank you for your time and your thoughtful consideration. All I want for Christmas is you to say no. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you. And before Ms. Holler comes up, I want to read something that I read during this morning's public participation that I neglected to read this afternoon. So if you were not here this morning, you did not hear this, but I will reread it. Public participation is not open to the presentation of campaign issues by political candidates or others, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending litigation. Proper decorum will be observed and is defined as behavior that is polite and orderly. And I will add to that we are not going to use this time to defame other people that are not a party to these proceedings. So, Mrs. Holler and Cheney, who's next?
We could have
We
these
have-
people line up, maybe quicker.
Yep, she's going to say who's
Yeah.
next.
Cindy Holler, followed by James Lee, followed by Cecil Roberts Jr.
Fantastic, thank you.
Okay, so this, good afternoon. Cindy Holler, coming from the west side, talking about this Paddock Way PD rezone. So 1731 Beacon Drive, Sanford. I'm actually shocked that I'm going to actually agree with staff on this. I agree that it should be denied. Also, I wanted to add that there were some citizens who I know were sick and couldn't be here, and there's no Zoom option, so that's unfortunate. Anyway, I am opposed, I don't want my tax dollars, I do work, so does my husband, used to benefit developer profits. There's tough times, and I want fiscal responsibility. So I don't like developers socializing the costs and maximizing their profits, but I want to say, I liked what Commissioner Zumbauer had to say, that we want a win-win, it's always good. And I don't think what I'm going to present is anything that defames anyone. As a matter of fact, it kind of highlights Chairman Lockhart's campaign this past November. I like, what I was going to say is, let's hold off and save this for our Seminole Forever topic, which is going to be covered in February. So I just wanted to ask, Joy, if you could put this up, please?
Certainly.
So, there's going to be two.
Oh, do you want to do it?
Yeah, thanks, appreciate that. Okay, let's see if that's going to come up. Just kind of wanted to highlight, as soon as it comes up.
Ms. Holler,
Okay.
this is not appropriate, and it will be removed by staff now.
Okay.
This item is about a
look,
paddock
folks.
zone.
So
Paddock
I
way-
understand.
Ms. Holler, I will ask you to stop speaking for a moment.
Okay.
This item is about a rezone.
Right.
The applicant has his time to make that rezone. If you would like to have a political conversation or a conversation regarding Seminole Forever, we can do that at a later date.
What-
This is not the time. So if that's what you have to say, then we're done, and we can move on to the next speaker.
Well, so I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, I would add to that, if this is going to continue, then let's make sure that this time is utilized on their 3 minutes,
Absolutely.
please.
Ms. Holler, you're welcome to stay this afternoon and have that conversation with us at a later date. There are people here who would like to discuss this
Right.
item.
What I'm trying to say is I'd like this to be a property to be considered for Seminole Forever.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
James Lee, followed by Cecil Roberts Jr., followed by Mary Beth Hanson.
Joy, can I have the projector show this? And then I'm going to put this underneath because next I'm going to show just my iPad. Yeah, sure. This is the... Yes, yes. Hello, James Lee, 922 Oviedo, and I'm representing Brighton Estate, so I'm requesting 6 minutes.
Madam Chair, can you move the microphone into your mouth so
Oh.
closer to you so I can hear you? Thank you.
I think the whole thing will move.
Is this better?
I can hear you better now.
Okay, I see that the time has started, so I'm representing my HOA at Brighton Estate, and we would like to agree with the staff to oppose this project, and here's why. So far, we've been talking specifically about just this zoned-in area, but if we take an overview look, let's look a little bit further to see how this plan fit into the overall Lake Hayes community. This little spot is the rezone area, and it's going to live along the Lake Hayes Road. The reason that we oppose is because right now the traffic cannot handle 91 more homes. And this is the intersection that we're going to focus on talking about. That's the Lake Hayes Road intersecting Alavea Trail, also known as 434. This yellow circle is the general area where the new development is going to fit into the community. Lake Hazel right now serve about 180 homes. But guess what? We're going to add another 91 in this little area. So this row is going to support the current 180 plus the 50% more, 91 home. I can show you a video next about what's going on with this particular intersection. This intersection is the same Lake Hayes Road, Alavea Trail. I'll show you a video of me driving from Lake Hayes Road going into Alavea Trail. I'm going to try to make a left turn. And here is the actual video. So I shot it just last month at 5:28. So as you could see, there are traffic in both directions, and Alavea Trail is a 55-mile speed limit, so the cars that you're looking would travel anywhere from 40 to 60 miles, realistically. And we actually have members of the community here that had traffic accident right here, exactly at this intersection. Not just one, multiple. So this is actually a traffic accident hotspot. So as you can see, I'm just trying to make a left turn, but there are so many traffic, you have to wait. And I'll give you a heads up, this entire video of me just trying to make a left turn, it's gonna take 3 minutes. Now, I'm not trying to show you anything out of the ordinary. This is just a regular day of me, regular person trying to go out, leave home, trying to make a left turn going onto Alavea Trail. And this would show you that right now our traffic infrastructure just cannot support another 91 home, let alone that Lake Hazel will be connected on the other end that will bring more traffic from the Alavea Woods community. So other than me trying to make a left turn, this Tesla right here from Alavea Trail, I guess this car is trying to make a left to go home. So there are many things going on. And as you can see, there's just no gap. They just keep going. The car just keep coming, and it just doesn't stop. It's a 50-mile-per-hour traffic that we are talking about, and we have members that's going to share that they have actually had accident right here at this intersection. Now, added more to the complication, there is a Camry right here trying to make a U-turn. So why is that Camry trying to make a U-turn? 2 reasons. Either this Camry is trying to make a U-turn so that they could make a right to go home for this community because there's no direct access for this community if they are coming north on Alavea Trail. Another car trying to make a left. Again, more reasons for people to try to make a U-turn is there is this community named Stillwater. If they wanted to go south on Alavea Trail, they have to go north first and then make a U-turn. So that's why there are these 2 cars waiting to make a U-turn. And now I find a gap, and there's me waiting to make a right into the south of Alavea Trail while these 2 cars are trying to make a U-turn. So who's going to go first? I don't know. It's just a big mess right now. So this is the situation. If you go out there, this is what you're going to see. Now, again, if you look at the overall map, this is the rezone area, this is the intersection. Now, keep in mind that Lake Hayes Road, there are plans to extend the Lake Hayes Road so that it will be connected here so that the Alavea Woods community could take Lake Hayes Road too. So why would they want to do that? I kind of get it. If you live right here and if you want to go to, say, let's say you want to go to Wawa for whatever reason, you would have to first go north and then south through the Alavea Woods Boulevard to come down. If the Lake Hayes Road were connected, I get it. You can just come right down, take Lake Hayes Road, and then come here. But the traffic, as you see, is very congested right here in this intersection. If we add 91 more home, and we add more traffic from the Alavea Woods community, this will be so congested. I'll tell you, if you live right here, right now you could just make a left turn to go to Wawa. But in the future, it will be so congested. You'd actually have to go to the opposite side of Lake Hayes Road just so that you could go up north, take the Alavea Woods Boulevard so you could make a left turn to Alavea Trail, then you could hit the Wawa that you want to go to. So this is what the project would come down to. So for that reason, we recommend the commission the commissioners to say no to this project.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And you did a remarkable job of staying within 6 minutes.
Cecil Roberts Jr., followed by Mary Beth Hanson, followed by Bill Hyde. Can you what?
Just get them up here.
You may. If your name was just called, please,
Can you make a copy?
just make sure that you introduce yourself and give your address so that we can correct it.
Yes, I'll take my
Okay, I'll put that in. Mary Beth Hanson, 2345 Pine Street. I'm here today to address traffic safety issues as our community grows. Specifically, my family is concerned with traffic safety where Lake Hayes Road accesses Highway 434. I was recently in a second accident there. I was turning southbound onto Alafaya. My husband and one-year-old grandson were with me in the car. We had been waiting for traffic to clear for some time. When the northbound lanes cleared, I proceeded to the median to wait for the southbound traffic. The car behind me pulled out too. But the northbound traffic came so fast he had nowhere to go. He hit me. This situation could have been tragic. Sadly, it's not an isolated event. That intersection requires cars to push the envelope to get in and out of our neighborhood daily. Currently, about 200 homes in our Lake Hayes neighborhood average 1,972 trips daily, using that intersection to access Alafaya, a 6-lane highway I've got with a 50-mile-an-hour speed limit. The current traffic lights are at Chapman Road and Kerrigan Avenue, giving traffic plenty of time to pick up speed and cause frustration and chaos at Lake Hayes and Alafaya. There is a median at this access point used not only from drivers from our neighborhood, but also northbound drivers from Stillwater subdivision with over 1,500 homes making U-turns to access the southbound direction. As you can see from the map, the residents that live off Smithson Drive, Lake Drive, and Beasley Road are also forced to use the same median for their U-turns, as they are right turn only from their neighborhoods as well. The traffic counts from Seminole County from 2016 to 22 are as follows. Northbound from Orange County line to Chapman Road average 47,780 cars daily. Southbound from Beasley to Lake average 43,698 cars daily. Stillwater subdivision from Highway 434 to the First Street average 2,490 cars daily. Crash site data from the FDOT reports 13 accidents filed from 2015 to 19. This information is not up to date because the agency is in the process of shifting to a Signal 4 analysis. Complete data will be available in March of 2023. My accident will be included in that report. This intersection is hazardous now. I can't imagine it with all the new growth projected that will depend on that one median. It would be easy to defer this safety issue to the state since it involves the highway, but it is ultimately the county that keeps approving subdivisions that access that same section of highway. I understand that growth is inevitable, but I respectfully ask you today to please consider this traffic safety issue before passing plans which will add additional traffic down our 2-lane Lake Hayes, requiring the use of that median to enter and exit our neighborhood.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cecil Roberts, followed by Bill Hyde, followed by Brannon Rue. And then Aaron Rue would be our last speaker for this item.
My name is Cecil Roberts Jr. I live at 2393 Pennsylvania Avenue in Oviedo. The actual location is the corner of Lake Hayes Road and Pennsylvania Avenue, the northeast corner. Good afternoon, Seminole County Commissioners. I'm here to speak regarding my concerns in opposition to this development. I had 4 areas of concerns for this new development, but don't have the time today to discuss all 4. I will speak on only one, but please note all 4 were noted in a letter format that I emailed to you last week on Wednesday, December the 7th. I hope all of you have had the chance to read this email. I received confirmation from 3 that it was, that was received. So I hope that by reading the email that I sent to you, you all will have the chance to discuss this today before a vote is actually given. I'm going to talk about lot sizes like others have before me. As you see here, the lots shaded in white, the western side of this project is showing 31 lots on 14 acres, minimum 90-foot width as shown on the developer's print. This is in keeping with standards previously established by the most recent subdivisions, such as Brighton Estates, approved in 2016. This also follows previous examples of 2 other subdivisions, along with approximately 190 homes, existing homes, west of this requested subdivision, back west to Alafaya Trail, dating back to my house, which was built in 1973, and mine was not the first house to be built in this area. We have approximately 50 years' history of lots with 90-foot minimum widths as approved by maybe some of you or commissioners before you. Now, with that in mind, why would 70-foot minimum lot widths be requested on the eastern side of Paddock Road, as noted in the yellow on the developer's drawing? This area still has the same access as the 90-foot lots noted in white and all other 190 homes using Lake Hayes Road for access to Alafaya Trail. Sure, the point could be made that 18 of these 60 lots have backlot lines that connect the city of Ovida's Alafaya Woods subdivision, which consists of approximately 2,230 homes built between 1985 and 1996 and approved during this time by the city of Ovida's commissioners. This development is within unincorporated Seminole County. If this adjustment is changed from 70-foot lots to 90-foot lots on this proposed development, that would allow for 44 lots instead of 60 as requested. This would be keeping in the same format as established during the past 50-plus years. Thank you.
Next, we have Bill Hyde, followed by Brandon Rue, followed by Aaron Rue.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Bill Hyde. I live at 2379 Audley Street in unincorporated Seminole County. I know this meeting is quasi-judicial, so testimony must be competent and substantial. I established competency by serving 2 terms in public office, hearing zoning matters going back to before most of you had even heard of Bert Harris, and I was never indicted. My evidence is substantial because I'm going to put your own words right up here for you to read. I'm challenging the validity of this application, of the application's process. I maintain that a Zoom meeting does not meet the criteria you have mandated. There is no discretion in those words for staff or anyone else to allow latitude in this process. A recent article in Forbes magazine said that Zoom has stifled innovation and collaboration. In my view, shared by many, I might add, is that the applicants have sidestepped an in-person meeting to avoid open dialogue with residents to address questions and concerns, or, heaven forbid, come up with a workable compromise, which we don't have here. Further, the applicants have been less than forthcoming in their summary of the Zoom. We heard the excuse that an in-person meeting would be too large for the local venue because of the number of postcards that were mailed out. However, if you count the number of participants in the actual Zoom, you can see that that didn't even begin to materialize. In fact, I hosted a community meeting a few weeks ago at a convenient facility. Some of the folks are here right now tonight, not in a residence, inviting residents, and we were all able to comfortably exchange ideas. I know word's gotten around that this came up at P&Z, which was a real disappointment. But so I'm sure you've had a heads up that I'd be back on this. You see, I didn't contact any of you on this because I think it's important that this be brought out in a public setting, not in a discussion in a back room. Discretion of these words is not up to staff. It's not up to the applicant, and it's not up to the county attorney. It's up to you, because you wrote these words when you voted for them. This is going to be a test going forward to see who makes those rules. Are you going to make them, staff going to make them, or is the applicant going to make them? We often hear, sorry, we had to pass such and such and so and so. Commissioners, you spend huge resources fighting river cross for us and turn down a terrible well system in the Yarborough property. And I understand my neighbors are not among the rural elite, but I think that we deserve the same protection for our little community. By the way, as a note, that little right-of-way, Commissioner DeLaurie knew about that right-of-way all along because he and I walked that right-of-way about, what was it, Commissioner, about 10 or 12 years ago when we talked about the gate. So if you'd have just picked up the phone and called one of us, you wouldn't have had that problem.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Hyde.
very much for your time.
Brannon Rue, followed by Aaron Rue.
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Brandon Rue. I'm at 2474 Paddock Way. So we're one of the 5-acre parcels in the middle of this whole development. I'm here to follow with the recommendations there of the staff and opposing this development. There's many reasons. One of them is back to the lot size. I mean, if you look at the 3 developed neighborhoods on Lake Hayes, developments on Lake Hayes Road, I mean, these are all, homes that are, I think there's like 2 houses per acre. I think 91 homes and that area is quite, over the top, in my opinion. I think there's stormwater issues, traffic issues. I mean, when they developed Brighton Estates, all the turtles and all the, deer and everything have come onto our property. I'm not sure where all those are going to go, but, I just really think, a real good look at this whole proposed plan needs to be done by you guys. And, we've heard all the arguments up here, but I just want to here today just to say that I oppose it, and I think it needs to be a real close look at what's really going on, and I think using the Alafaya Woods as a basis for this many lots in this area isn't a great argument. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Rue? Hi. We're saving the best for last. I'm Erin Rue, and I live at 2474 Paddock Way, and I am directly affected by this development. I am a real estate broker. I'm a Floridian, and I've lived in Winter Springs, Novito since 1983, so I'm very aware of the growth. I think the developers are coming in and chopping at every single piece of raw land Winter Springs, Novito still has. We have 4 boys and 4 dogs, and we specifically purchased this property, which Paddock Way is not a local road. We are a dirt road that's gravel that we as the homeowners have maintained ever since I've lived there. We bought this home because we needed space for our kids. We needed space for our dogs. We are not HOA people. We'd get kicked out of an HOA the minute we moved in. But I am not unique. As I stated, I'm a real estate broker, so I am not trying to prohibit my neighbors from making a profit on their land, but I am asking that you stop this developer. This does not make sense. I can't be the only one that looks at this site plan and sees that it does not make any sense. I'm not asking you to deny a raw land development, but I am asking you to deny a developer from coming in and taking away our zoning, which we are zoned A5, and turning it into planned development. He is just squishing in all of these homes. I am a taxpayer, and like I said, I've lived here my whole life. Why is my peace of living and my quality of life not important? The only person that is benefiting from this is the developer. Again, I am not stopped. My neighbor called me crying that she ended up joining in on this developers because they're offering so much money to them. This isn't about money. I could join in on it too, but this isn't about money. I would invite each one of you to come to my home at night and you can see the stars. During the day, we have deer, we have bunnies, we have birds. It's absolutely beautiful. I am just asking that you
stand by what we believe in and you protect the rural parts of Seminole County. Our entire road is zoned A5. So me and my neighbor next to him, or me and the neighbor next to me, are the only ones who are not included. So now we are the only ones who are going to be now affected by this massive development around us. And as far as the postcard, it looked like an investor junk mail. I didn't even see it over the summer, because if I went to every single person's house that's surrounding me, besides the people who are making a profit, everyone is against this. There has been no discussion. The only calls I've gotten from the developer begging me to sell my land. So please, I just ask that you please deny the zoning change. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are those all the comments?
That was the last speaker form I have for this item.
Okay. Is there anyone else before we close public comment that did not get to fill out a form that would like to speak? All right. Seeing none, we're going to close public comment. Mr. Moorhead, would you like to readdress the board?
Sure. Chad Moorhead. Just a reminder, we're not changing the future land use here. This isn't suburban estates. It's not going from, basically it was set up for 4 dwelling units an acre. When we first looked at this, my client said, hey, what do you think about doing 50-foot lots? And I said, no way. I said, I am not getting in front of this board asking for 50-foot wide lots on this property. So we looked at it and we said, there's 90-foot wide lots here, there's 70-foot lots over there. So we matched lot sizes based on that. Mr. Hyde is right. On our survey, before we uncovered the fact that it was true right-of-way, there was a right-of-way easement there for drainage and utilities. And when this 5-acre lot right here was sold back in the 80s, they actually gave an easement to the seller for some reason. They didn't even know that it was right-of-way down there. If this board would like for us to, so that a road could never come through here, we would be okay coming back, because that's not really about the zoning, but coming back and asking for that right-of-way to be vacated. We're the adjacent property owners, or we can be the adjacent property owners, and we would bring that back and do that if that's what this board would like. We would accept that as a condition of approval. Traffic, State Road 434 is busy. I went out there right before the meeting, checked it out again. It's busy. It always has been. But we're required to do a traffic study. Any improvements that can be done to 434 between the county and DOT, we'll participate in those, and what is a direct result of our project, we will take care of those, but that's done at the next stage. We've heard that loud and clear. Again, the drainage, we've got a pretty good drainage outfall, actually better than most of the projects I do here in the county. Right here, that does go down to the econ. We'll adhere to the county's econ standards on those. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing here. Yeah, again, we're not high density. It's low density residential in the county. I think actual high density in the county, I believe, is 20 units an acre. I'd have to ask staff that, but so we're not even, I know medium density is 10. So with that, I'd stand for any questions, if you guys have any.
Commissioner Delary?
For me.
I got a couple questions. Thank you, Mr. Moorhead. Thank you, Mr. Moorhead. First question I have, one of the speakers talked about the retention ponds being too small. Can you discuss that?
We have to go through staff, and basically if they're too small, we'll have to make them bigger, and we lose lots if that's the case. We always go a little bit aggressive on asking for, we're asking for 91 lots. I've committed that we would be gating the eastern side, and we'll probably lose a lot or two there. So throughout, whenever we get zoning approved, we then go into the final engineering. If our retention ponds, or possibly we don't have enough open space, we may lose lots because of that.
So the next question I have is, when the Lake Hayes ties into 434, I know you're going to be looking at it at a future date. This is a PD. It's negotiable. I'd like for you and staff to tell us what avenues or what options are available on Lake Hayes and 434.
I don't know those off the top of my head, maybe.
I'm not the traffic engineer. Somebody else needs to answer that question then.
Mr. Dredge, would you like to come in and answer Commissioner Delari's question?
Unfortunately, Commissioner Delary, I'm not a traffic engineer either, but
Okay.
I know Mr. Dredge has some experience with it.
There's a couple of them here.
Good afternoon. For the record, George Ash, Public Work Director, County Engineer. Can you repeat the question, please?
So there was a presentation by at least one of the residents here that actually showed us a video of the issue of Lake Hayes being connected into 434. With the additional homes being added onto Lake Hayes, how could that potentially be addressed?
Okay. Currently, you have about 208 lot use Lake Hayes, and we're added another 91. That will make it about 300. For the capacity of the roadway, it is within the level of service. What we will be asking them to do to assess the intersection, the operation of the intersection of Alafaya and also Lake Hayes, and see what type of improvement will require to be made from safety and from operation. And that will be done during the design approval.
Okay. So the next question I have is for Mr. Chipak. Mr. Chipak, you saw by the video that the traffic issues are a big concern. How do we address that at the time of this approval? Because I know this is just zoning. Does that have to be done at a later date, or can be done where we understand it now?
And correct me if I'm wrong, from planning and engineering staff, but the traffic concerns are typically addressed at the final engineering stage when a traffic study is required as part of our subdivision regulations. So it's a little premature to address traffic at a rezoning stage.
Okay.
For the record, you had a head nod from the back row from Rebecca Hammock. Commissioner Delary, do you have any more?
Go right ahead.
So is there nothing we can do? And I'll hearken to my first day in office dealing with celery and 415 and all of the expansion that we did over the years where it would be addressed someday, and it's now getting addressed. I'm going to say because I'm kicking and screaming about it, but that just doesn't sit well with me from the perspective of it then goes to the next step. It doesn't necessarily come back here. We can't enforce something happening to change the outcome of this if it's deemed that we don't need to do anything. So I new guy struggling a little bit with the idea that we sort of kick that can down the road and say somebody will worry about it later with absolutely no oversight whatsoever. It didn't work out well on celery and 415. You can tell that by the number of markers that are there.
Commissioner Zembach? And Commissioner Constance.
I do want the answer from our legal staff. What can we do now? Not do we have to do it now, what can we do now?
In regards to traffic directly, at the PD stage, again, the PD master plan, and correct me if I'm wrong from a planning standpoint, just requires the point of access to be shown into and out of the subdivision as it's being supplied. But as far as specific road improvements, that is not typically part of the PD rezoning process at the initial master development plan stage. Our system is not set up that way. We have the subdivision regulations which go into specific details and have the standards, but at the planning stage, it's not at the engineering stage.
Ms. Hammack, would you like to address that question?
Yes, thank you. For the record, Rebecca Hammack, Development Services Director. Just to provide some further clarification, because the urban area of the county is a traffic concurrency exception area, we are limited only to operational improvements. However, my understanding from Public Works is that a traffic signal warrant analysis is going to be required for Lake Hayes and Alafaya, so that will be happening with final engineering. But I think if it would make the board feel more comfortable, there is the option, and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, to put a DO condition requiring that traffic warrant analysis. I mean, it doesn't guarantee that a traffic light will go there, but at least the analysis will have to be performed to make sure that one, if one is warranted, that it will be installed. Or at least, I don't know if it'll be proportionate fair share.
Commissioner Hurd, does that help answer your question?
Fabulous. Did you nod yes?
That would be appropriate to put that in as a development order condition. But again, it's not mandating a traffic light, it's
Understood.
warranting the study.
But if we were consistent with that approach, at some point, something would hit the tipping point, and it would be warranted.
Correct. As additional traffic, occurs, then eventually it is going to be warranted. It's getting to the point where it's looking like it is warranted. That's why Public Works is requiring that analysis. But again, we need to be able to review that analysis to see if it hits that threshold.
Understood. Thank you.
You good? I think it was Commissioner Zembauer and then Commissioner Constantine.
Yes, I was Rebecca Hammack actually answered, so it's based on level of service and a traffic warrant analysis, which we can hopefully work with DOT on 434, because they ought to be a partner as well. Ms. Hammack, while you're there, look at the future land use map. I think it was the Roos that were up here talking about they're one of the few 5-acre tracts that remain in that area off Paddock Way. What is their future land use? Is their future land use something different? In other words, what could they do on their 5 acres today, next week, whatever?
So the future land use is low-density residential, which allows a maximum of 4 dwelling units per acre. Their zoning is A1 agricultural. I did hear it referenced as A5, but that was not correct.
That's what I thought. I thought it was A1. But they have low-density residential future land use as well.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Could I ask Ms. Hammack for you, I think that's a really good point that Commissioner Zembauer just brought up. Could you just take a moment to explain what future land use designation means as opposed to zoning?
Sure. So the state of Florida requires that every jurisdiction within the state have a future land use map, which provides a designation for every property within a jurisdiction of what potentially or in the future that property could be developed as. And then there are several zoning designations which are compatible with that future land use. So future land use will give you maximum densities. If it's a non-residential future land use category, it'll give you a maximum intensity with floor area ratio, and it gives you a general type of permitted use. And then you have zoning categories that are compatible or consistent with those future land use designations. So not every zoning designation that's allowed within a future land use designation will necessarily be compatible with the other development around it. So in this case, they have low density residential, but you could have R1A, you could have R1AA, R1 AAA. All those are permissible zoning districts within low density residential.
Thank you. Commissioner Constantine?
Thank you. Well, Commissioner Herr, I'm an old guy, and I'm still struggling with this traffic, too. How am I to make a decision on rezoning when I can't discuss the traffic problems or discuss them but can't look at resolution of them? So I want to remind the commission that this, again, is a PD request, and that in PD requests, it's not just a one-sided request, hey, can we do this? We have the option of also suggesting changes that would not necessarily be allowed or we could not ask for under straight zoning. And I also want to, because we have not said this in this meeting, remind everybody that the staff very seldom request denial. And they're requesting a denial on this for the right-of-way, which I think we have already seen can be very problematic when we do reduce the right-of-way. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now and continuing discussion.
Commissioner Herr, Commissioner Zembauer.
I'll jump in after that.
Just, I held back on my list of questions since I got called on early, but I want to go back to a handful, if you don't mind, for the district commissioner. Why do we have the 46-foot right-of-way if we regularly don't follow it? And I think that's a question for Rebecca. So maybe I need a little bit of a history lesson here. Maybe that's a question for John. Rebecca's doing this, John, so that's you. And then would also like to know, in the solution that was presented by the developer, the 40-foot with the 5-foot sidewalk, et cetera, can a school bus turn around on that? Can a fire truck turn around on that? I'm going to try to get through. Is it safe? I'm trying to go through the questions that were asked one by one.
Okay, again, John, for the record, John J. Public Works Director, County Engineer. For the right-of-way is a minimum 46 feet, and that's what we staff required to stay with the minimum 46, which include 20 feet of the roadway asphalt plus 2 feet of a curb on each side, and you have a clear you have a sidewalk 5 foot on each side, and also you have the green area. That is the minimum allowed. Developers, sometimes they come to the board, they request for relief, like what they're doing today, and those are granted. Sometimes you have existing developers that try to redevelop, they constrain. Also, they do ask for relief, and all those are approved by the board. But the minimum we require it is on subdivision 46.
And so maybe I'll follow up to that with, why is it 46, and then address the school bus and the fire truck.
Why is the minimum 46? That is the standard been set for a long, long time. It is it'll fit the minimum infrastructure you put within that in the right-of-way. Also requires some 10 feet easement, utility easement for soft easement like cable and so on. But that standard, it has been on the book for a long, long time.
School bus, fire truck.
At the school bus, they can get in and out all those subdivision with the 20 feet. We have no issue with it. If there is a minimum, some radius, and those addressed during the plan review, and fire department, they are on board if they have issue. But also there are some minimum radius, which I think is 25 feet or so required for those. They're required to meet them, and normally they do.
Okay, so the answer is they can get through on 20 feet.
Yeah.
Then the next question is, there was the statement that at the previous meeting, the ponds were deemed insufficient. Can you address that?
There is a minimum requirement, depending on the basin. It is required the minimum, and that will make sure they meet those minimum during the design. If there was a proposal, if it is not adequate, as the engineer for the record stated, they would have to widen it to make it larger and so on.
And then there was the question of Lake Hayes Road. The maintenance is insufficient, and that it is going to be extended. That was said many times today. Maybe we need to clarify that.
Going to be extended I think it was I seen it. It is City of Oviedo. They're going through their master plan. They're shown as a proposed. That right away is a Seminole County right away. Any approval they're going to come to you to approve it or not. They're not going to be able to extend it without the county approval. As for the maintenance for the asphalt, Lake Hayes is 20 feet wide, which will meet the standard. As for the asphalt condition, maybe some pothole here or there. We do have a very good program about monitoring the condition of the roadway. And when it needs to be resurfaced, meets that rate, we will do that. As for we talk about the traffic, the intersection, that will be required as stated, whether it is traffic and traffic warrant and other safety. Those all will be included in the traffic assessment. Currently, the time is it done? Is the final engineering? If the board want to do it, required to be done in different stage. We can put those conditions.
And then I think this question may be for either Rebecca or Paul. City versus county for determining compatibility. There are lots of comments around the idea that you can't determine compatibility based on the neighboring subdivision because that's the city and we're the county.
My legal opinion on that is when you determine compatibility, it does not stop at jurisdictional lines. You're looking at an area, not at just the jurisdictional boundary. And that runs consistent through our regulations, such as with, it's specifically brought out in our liquor distance regulations. We specifically say that you measure to the nearest house, regardless of whether it's in the city or the county.
Okay, thank you. And then last question, I promise, Commissioner Teflari.
Keep going, because I got more too.
Can we address the Zoom meeting and the fact that we did not, Mary's jumping up. We did not appear to follow our own statement.
Yes, so there are provisions in the code that allow the division manager to waive certain requirements for the community meeting. I'm the division manager for the Planning and Development Division. Mr. Moorhead did send me a written request to ask for a Zoom meeting because of the large number of potential mailers or attendees, and that he felt there wasn't an adequate place, and I did approve that request.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Zembauer?
Yes, thank you.
Could I add on to that from?
Hold on a minute. It's not your turn, mister.
Well, after the commissioners are done asking questions.
Okay, sorry.
We'll
Thank you. This is for Rebecca. I want to make sure I understood what was said earlier. If we bring up, it's close enough up there on the map. There was a statement I thought I heard to make, it would end up making a non-conforming lot. So I want to make sure I flush that out. Are you saying the little flag section, which is where the constraint is with the 46-foot or 47-foot, whatever it is, if that were omitted, that section up there, that flag lot, that lot would then become a non-conforming lot?
So
I wanted
what's...
to make sure I understood what was said in the presentation.
Sure. So the issue is because a proposed right-of-way is proposed to be developed through that pinch point
Right.
in that narrow area where it's adjacent to other properties.
Correct.
Our code requires that there be a tract between those two other properties so that you don't create double frontage
Understood.
lots, and also require some protection and buffering
Right.
from those adjacent properties. And so in this case, in order to provide adequate room to provide the wall and the landscaping to buffer those existing properties, the applicant's requiring a narrower right-of-way.
Understood.
So the issue that staff is having is that it doesn't technically meet code requirements for that area. Otherwise, staff has found that the proposed development itself is compatible.
So, no, I understand, maybe I rephrase that. So let's just hypothetically say for a moment, the owner or developer of this parcel, his request, they say, we don't want to do that piece because we can't get to it because it's 40, you're requiring us to have 46 feet. What can happen on that lot now?
So it wouldn't be accessible.
It'd be landlocked?
Be landlocked, yes.
And the only way to it would be through the 46-foot
Correct.
existing pinch point, or be forced to buy the surrounding property to then generate something larger than 46 feet, correct?
If they sell it.
Got it.
And I think that would have been the preference, I think, of the applicant.
Understood.
That those property owners weren't willing to sell.
Right, understood. And John may or may not, you may not need to answer this, but I've looked at the mobility plan for the city of Oviedo, and I think you've already answered this. It's the 2045 plan, their transportation plan, which they are mandated to do by statute for future planning. Whether a road ever goes through there or not may never happen. Is that a fair assessment? I mean, right now, I think the city of Oviedo has enough road issues on their hands to try to deal with. I can't imagine that they've got the money to try to put a road through there right now or anytime in the near future. But we would have to agree to that, correct?
Yes.
That's right.
If it is in your right of way, you have to approve it. And we had a meeting with them about over the 2045 master plan yesterday, not specifically about that project, but also overall.
Sure.
And we see that we kind of reviewing it. But any roadway or anything in our right of way, you have to approve it.
Great.
If I can bring something, they handed to me. That is from the fire department or the bench point. I think it's also they're saying they have a concern about the curve, the radius.
Sure, the radius would have to be designed in that 46-foot. Understood. I mean, there's places.
John, stay right there.
Yeah.
I want you to elaborate on that email.
Well, and
Okay, go ahead.
go
ahead. I want you to elaborate on that.
Well, what is that? Because were we provided that?
It is, that provided to me is from the fire department as a comment from the fire department.
Was it?
Choice.
Okay.
It is that concern about the movement of their of that vehicle and that pinch point for the radius.
Would you please pass that down the dais?
And I was getting there with one of my questions, but.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
No worries. So, in this 46-foot pinch point, they're going to have to design in final engineering the capability of a radius to allow emergency vehicles to get in and out, correct?
Right.
That's right.
The 46 feet is the right-of-way from one lane.
Understood.
It is not. The roadway itself, it is 20 feet plus the curb.
20 feet.
Now, the radius also, was a design, it is the final design.
Sure.
They have to meet the minimum to be able, the bus and the fire to be able to meet those minimum.
Understood. And we've got plenty of access roads in this county that buses are going down that are 20 and 25-foot wide.
It is not the width, it's not the width of the road, more like the radius.
Understood. And
That's
the
what it
radius
is.
combination,
That's the width.
which becomes final engineering.
Right.
Okay, so if the developer, they may lose one lot, two lots, because they have to change the radius of the access.
Well, it is the bench point, it is, they don't have much width to really, that's what.
Understood.
Yes, but whether they meet it and satisfy the fire department for the minimum radius movement. I hope they address it now.
Sure.
But it is the width of the right-of-way is a different what we're talking about.
Understood. And totally understand. Depends on what they ultimately design as far as the roadway that goes in there. But I'm telling you, my experience is with a 46-foot wide, you can engineer the radius of the turn to get in and out of there with a school bus or a fire truck.
Yeah, it is, the width of the right-of-way has nothing to do with the radius.
Well, it does, because it allows how much the radius and where the radius is going to begin and end.
Right.
Based on the width.
Yeah, maybe 46, maybe a little bit tilted to the left or the right.
That's right.
Center.
That's right. If you don't have that 46.
Right. And if you don't have it, it's not in that area, I don't know if they can fit it or not.
Understood.
But it's easier to demonstrate.
Understood.
For the fire department.
If I may, Commissioner Zembauer, when you finish up these questions, I'm going to call for just a 5-minute recess,
Sure.
if that's okay?
No, it's fine with me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So I will share with you, I have been out on this road 6 times in the last 3 weeks, at different times of the day. And I heard the comment about the asphalt, and I heard the residents, what they said. I'm going to tell you, the road needs repaved.
Right.
I mean, there's patches all in it. I was actually a little taken back since the last time I was on Lake Hayes was that my late wife had a horse back at the end of Lake Hayes. In fact, I think on this parcel of property where this is being discussed. But the roadway needs to be fixed. I mean,
well, the payment, as I said, we do have what I call it a schedule. And if it need to be paved, we schedule a pavement.
Sure.
It is.
I just wanted to make sure it was clear. Some of the things the residents are saying, what they're experiencing in the roadway, I can vouch for. It's absolutely got potholes that have been fixed. It's got low spots in it. It leans right. It leans left. It's the shoulders caving into the drainage ditch in certain areas. And of course, when you get back to the end of the road, it becomes a private road, which is gravel and so forth, which is quite common. So I would, moving forward, I think what I'm hearing you say is it is programmed to be repaved. Is that what I'm hearing?
Those comment, we received some comment. We sent our staff, our crews, that patch was what need to be patched. And also, Mike Garcia, he oversees our street resurfacing. He will do some testing and schedule it to be it is middle resurface, that area, the existing area.
Great. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Let's reconvene at 3:25, please. 30 seconds. This is your 30-second warning shot. Please take their seats. We're going to reconvene the meeting. Mr. Drudge, I believe you were at the podium. We had some questions. Commissioner Zembauer had just finished his questions, and I have to admit, I do not remember whether Commissioner Delary or Commissioner Constantine was next.
Constantine first.
Commissioner Constantine, do you have some questions that you would like to ask? Nope. Looks like it punts to you, Commissioner Delary.
He's in the middle of a payday bar, which I questioned heartily because it has no chocolate on it. It's nuts and nougat. I don't get it.
Y'all need this down there?
I'm good. Keep it away from me, please.
Nope, no more, I got enough. Thank you. Oh, you did?
So, John, the question is emergency access for vehicles. The pavement width, what is it required?
The pavement width for the roadway is 20 feet to...
And what do they ask, what are they going to be providing?
Is that 20 feet?
Okay,
Was
what-
it?
So, wait a minute, so you need 20 feet, they're providing 20 feet.
Right.
So what's the radius? So the radius would have to be 20 feet as well, correct?
No, the radius is more than 20 feet. What they're saying, that radius at the pitch point, the 90 degree, when they make it big enough to provide the fire department, that radius could be still within 46, but that 46 could be offset on private property. Because if you look, do you have the...
We can't use private property.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. They have to put the radius, what radius is needed, show it where it will be located in that pinch point. That's what the fire department have concern. He can, if they can do it and show it.
Mr. Chad Moorhead?
Can you put that up, please?
You understand the question at hand?
I do. So what we're proposing is, the minimum pavement width in a subdivision in Seminole County is 20 feet.
Okay.
When we go into tight curves, this particular case, it's a 50-foot centerline radius, we're required to widen the pavement. So what we've proposed is 26 foot of pavement in this particular area. We've also already run the auto turn analysis to show that the fire truck goes through it. Does it turn around in the middle of the road? No, but it goes up and turns around in the circle that we have up there. School bus, nothing turns around in the middle of the road, but we have adequate area for the fire truck to go in and turn around and come back out. But this is the proposed section right here. 13-foot drive lanes through this section, 2 foot of curb and gutter on each side, and a 6-foot sidewalk on one side. That is what we are proposing, and it is adequate for...
So you'll meet NFPA requirements and the fire department's requirements?
Yes. No private property involved. We'd like to keep the wall over here on the property line. That is one of the options, and that's the one that I would ask that hopefully you guys approve us with.
So talk to us about the intersection of 434 and Lake Hayes Road. Because we're talking about maybe asking you to do a traffic warrant study, but my question now is, because this first came up with a traffic warrant study in this meeting, separation between the two traffic signals, or the nearest traffic signal, is there going to be enough separation to put a traffic signal here?
I don't know the separations, but I want to say off the top of my head that the closest signal's at Chapman to the north, and I have to look at maybe all the way down at Kerrigan to the south. That's a pretty good distance, so I don't know off the top of my head what the separations are, but it seems to me that it's possible right there, that a signal could be done if it is warranted.
It's possible, or it can be done?
If DOT, if it's warranted and it's allowed, I have to be honest with you, Commissioner, Stillwater has, I believe, a lot more lots than this particular project does. And it may line up across the street. It may be better that a signal were to go there if a signal's warranted. Generally, when you have, we're kind of I'll call it the tail here. And Stillwater would be the dog because they have more units over there. That's just not an answer that I have for you today, but I can tell you in the past, that's where the signal would be, in my opinion, based on past experience and not necessarily at Lake Hayes Road.
Okay. So the questions I also have is, you're asking, in your plan that I'm seeing here, the conceptual plan, you're putting a 10-foot buffer on the east side of the 70-foot lots as well as the west side, which is Paddock.
Yes.
Paddock Way. Paddock Way is a gravel road?
Yes.
I don't understand why we're putting a 10-foot buffer on a gravel road.
Staff asked us to do that so that the rear of our lots are buffered from Paddock Way, and we agreed to do it. If you don't think that's necessary or you'd like to see that buffer somewhere else, we'd be open to that. Just did that for staff.
Okay. And then where are these retention ponds? All the retention ponds are draining south onto Lake Hayes Road, correct?
They are going south. They will go under Lake Hayes Road, and then they'll go east. I don't know if that's a named ditch, but they go east down the ditch to the econ. I believe that's the little econ there, actually.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Okay.
If you've,
I just want to make sure there's no more
I want to
dialogue.
make, this is your district, so
I
you take
understand
all
that.
the time that you
So my
need.
biggest issue, Madam Chair, is the intersection on 434, that traffic. And the question I now have for legal is, the traffic warrant study, as Mr. Chad Moorhead spoke about, he believes that a traffic light would probably be more warranted at Stillwater. I'm concerned about, I know a traffic light's needed in this area, but how do we ask this developer to either do a traffic warrant on Lake Hayes or a Stillwater area? Because the traffic light needs to go in this area somewhere. And I noticed the PD, it's negotiable, and I'd like to see if it's possible that, and we can only ask them to have their share. So how do we do this with either Stillwater or Lake Hayes?
Traffic study should.
I understand that, but I want to make sure that the right verbiage is correct.
In this particular case, if you're looking for a condition, at final engineering, the traffic doesn't need to be analyzed anyway. So a DO condition that a traffic study will be required to check out to see whether a traffic light is warranted, and if so, at which intersection, and that the developer would contribute their proportionate fair share to the appropriate traffic light at the appropriate location. Again, it's 434 is a state road. It's out of our jurisdiction as to whether, if and when a traffic light goes there. It's DOT's call on that. But again, we can require the developer to request the traffic warrant or do the appropriate traffic study working with DOT, and then also request him to participate on a proportionate fair share into the cost of that traffic signal.
Okay. So there's a couple of extra conditions I'd like to put on this DO, would be that a berm stabilization analysis needs to be done on these retention ponds. And I bring that to your attention because we've had berms fail in the past. Is that correct, Mr. Chad Moorhead? And I just want to make sure that this one doesn't have any issues with it.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We don't object to that.
And that I also believe that the 10-foot buffer on Paddock Way, some of that needs to go to the LFA side. And I think that only 5 foot needs to be on Paddock Way, and that way you can do 15 on the Alafaya Woods side. And I'd like to ask staff to comment on that, please.
Which staff would you like to address that, Commissioner Delary? Commissioner
Mr. Rebecca or Ms. Joy?
Mrs. Hammack, there's a question that Commissioner Delary is posing about the buffering, and would you like him to restate it? Okay.
No, thanks. For the record, Rebecca Hammack, Development Services Director. A 5-foot buffer is pretty narrow. It's difficult to provide the plantings and the required opacity in that width. We are requiring the buffering just so that you basically don't have the effect of a double frontage lot there. And that's why we're requiring that buffer and buffer tract in that location.
But it's on a road that you're not accessing.
They're not, but there are other people are using those access, and then there will be lots that back up to Paddock Way.
Okay.
And so we wanted to buffer between. And just on a point of clarification, I just wanted to correct the record. The lot, the property on the northwest section, it wouldn't technically be landlocked because there is access from an easement on Onslow. It just would not, you could probably build one home there. You wouldn't be able to further subdivide it, so you would not be able to develop it in accordance with its future land use.
I didn't ask that question.
I know, I just wanted to clarify, sorry.
Okay.
Or correct the record.
All right. So then keep the buffers the way they are. I think a traffic light warrant study needs to be done either on Lake Hayes or Stillwater, but that should be determined at a future date. In your presentation, Mr. Moorhead, you talked about at a future date vacating the potential right-of-way on the future extension of Lake Hayes Road. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, it is. If that's a condition that you guys deem that would be appropriate, we would be willing to come back with a right-of-way vacate petition for that area.
So just to recap, we talked about the berm stabilization analysis, also not be going vertical on any of the structures until all the stormwater is completed.
Until the stormwater ponds are completed, all the pipes may not be in yet, but
I know, but
we'd like to be able to do models. But yes, for the stormwater ponds would be in and stabilized before we would pull any building permits.
And then a traffic light warrant study would be done in that corridor, either for Stillwater or Lake Hayes?
Yes, sir. When they do the traffic study, they'll generally look at the intersections around it already, so we don't have an issue with that.
And then coming back, future commitment, it's not binding, obviously, but committing to coming back and vacating that right-of-way?
Yes.
And then that pinch point will be designed and built with a 20-foot, all per NFPA requirements?
Yes, sir, and I'd also, if you would, I'd like for that particular section to be in the record.
And then per your request, that wall will be on the property line or just at the property line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any other requirements that you all?
Is that a motion?
I'm going to get to the motion. I just want to make sure those concerns are done first. With that, Madam Chair, with those additions, I'd like to adopt a proposed ordinance enacting a rezone of A1 Ag to PD plan development and approve the associated master development plan, associated development order of 34.73 acres located on the north side of Lake Hayes Road, approximately half-mile east of Alafaya Trail, as presented here in those additional requirements.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Clarification before. Are you including the prop share cost of a traffic signal if it's warranted?
Yeah, that's what I did say. They're doing a traffic analysis.
I understood the warrant, but I didn't hear you say
and I said that
their prop share.
they would pay their share of the traffic light in that area that's required either at Stillwater or whatever the traffic light
So
requires.
do you want to clarify that motion with those items in it so we make sure the record's clear?
I thought I did that, but I'll go through it again.
I think just for clarification, the additions were made before the motion, so we'll just add them along with the motion again, just for the sake of the
You want me
clerk.
to repeat them again?
Would you please,
Sure.
as a part of the motion?
Traffic study with the traffic light requirements, where they pay their pro rata share of what's required for that area. That berm stabilization analysis will be done. Stormwater pond will be completed, and all the major stormwater will be completed before any vertical structure. They're coming back at a later date to vacate the right-of-way at the 70-foot lot area, and that at the pinch point, that road to be designed per NFPA, and that to handle any of the traffic, the fire trucks, and that wall would be at the property line.
Point of clarification, you're talking about the future date, come back to request.
To request.
A vacate.
That's what I said.
All right, I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Commissioner.
Yes.
Thank you. I wanted to commend Commissioner Delory for putting together so many different requirements. I think that is the reason or the right way to go when we're talking about PDs, is to try to get it. I still have a concern, though, with the right-of-way, the 46 feet, and going to that property that's got 9 units above. Our development director has already indicated that they can use that property through right-of-way from the north of it. And so I'm just, I'm going to be voting no on the motion, although I did, like I said, want to commend Commissioner Delory for trying to find an agreement here. But I still believe that Onslow, it's not, again, our responsibility to ensure that anybody can develop their property to the density that they wish. Our staff very, very seldom, because they try to work things out, come back with a recommendation of denial. They were very clear as to why they were asking for denial, and with all the other things that we are trying to work out, I still don't see that we have worked out that right-of-way concern, and so therefore, again, I'm going to be voting no.
Commissioner Constantine, I share the same beliefs as well as you do. It is a gated community. They are building it per NFPA, and the road width meets our standards. It's the right-of-way that they're missing it.
I do
And so,
understand that.
so what I'm getting at, that the roadway meets any and all standards that we've been building. We've done this past, and as the applicant showed us, a number of times, even in this area, they have done this. And so it's just in one small point, and that's why I'm moving forward with it.
And I do respect you for trying to come up with, again, I do respect you for coming up with that. I'm just saying that just because we've done it in the past does not mean that it's the right thing
All
to
right.
do.
So if there's no other discussion, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Motion passes 4-1. Moving on to item number 43, Fern Park Commercial Drive-Through.
Thank you. Afternoon, Kathy Hamill, Development Services.
Kathy, why don't you give us just 1 minute? We have some folks that are just trying to exit the room.
This one should be.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. I appreciate it.
Afternoon, Kathy Hamill, Development Services. This item is to request a special exception to allow for a drive-through associated with the restaurant in the Oxford overlay. The applicant wants to convert an existing laundromat at the end of a shopping plaza into a restaurant with a drive-through. The Oxford overlay allows the restaurant as a permitted use, but the use of the driveway requires a special exception, but only when the property is adjacent to State Road 436 or US 1792. This property does meet that requirement. Staff finds that the criteria for granting the special exception has been met in that it is consistent with the surrounding retail, commercial development, and with the commercial future land use. Additionally, it meets the site plan requirements for engineering and fire turning movements and the dimensional requirements of the C2 zoning classification. And additionally, to further clarify engineering's site plan requirements, additional language was added to the conditions in the development order. And on November 5th, the P&Z voted to approve the requested special exception in the approval development order. We are recommending the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception and the associated updated development order for a drive-through in the C2 zoning classification located on the south side of State Road 436 and at the southwest intersection of State Road 436 and Oxford Road. And if the board would like, I can read those changes to, the additions to the development order into public record.
Please.
Okay. The first clarification is going to be on condition A. It states the special exception granted applies only to the drive-through as depicted on the special exception site plan. The updated version includes and not to the specific layout adjacent to the drive-through and along Oxford Road frontage. Condition number D, the layout of the proposed uses will be substantially consistent with that which is depicted on the special exception site plan attached to the development order as Exhibit A, with the updated language, with the exception of the internal access and parking area adjacent to the drive-through lane and along the Oxford Road frontage, which must be adjusted to accommodate the Oxford Road Widening Capital Improvement Plan CIP project. And finally, condition number F states prior to the issuance of the development permits, a site plan that, and with the addition language of accommodates the Oxford Road Widening Capital Improvements Plan project and then it continues with the condition meets the requirements of all other applicable code requirements, including Chapter 40 of the Land Development Code and the Oxford Overlay District must be approved. And that is the final updated conditions. And this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Ms. Hamel? Commissioner Constantine?
Thank you very much. Is this just south of the Chick-fil-A there?
is.
Okay.
It is.
Being that Chick-fil-A is so successful and popular with their driveway, and, is there any concerns that there might be backup from the two of them so close to one another?
I would probably defer to engineering on the traffic flow. I know that they did meet their turning radiuses for the site, but I think Chick-fil-A does kind of put a different dynamic into it, knowing that the levels of traffic that comes from that use.
Chick-fil-A is everyone knows, is very good at drive-throughs. So yes, there isn't a time I go by there that it isn't all the way around the building. So that was the only question I had. I have no problem with the request. I just wanted to know if there was going to be a problem potentially.
Do we have anyone from the public that would like to speak? Oh, the applicant. I'm so sorry. I was going to do it to you again. Is the applicant here? Okay, you're welcome to make a presentation.
Good afternoon. Tim McCormick, 1200 Hillcrest Street, Orlando, Florida, 32803. Just here to answer any questions. And pertaining to the commissioner's question, the stacking length we came up with is approximately 500 feet from the drive-through window to the roadway, Oxford Road. That exceeds the Seminole County LDC. And Chick-fil-A, I believe, fronts on 436. So we do have different connections to the roadway there. So we don't see it combining any traffic or any issues there. So.
Thank you. You'll stay close by in case there are any additional questions. Anything, commissioners, for the applicant? No? All right. Ms. Beach, any public comment?
Just one. Geoffrey Lungley.
Okay. Mr. Lumley? If you would, be sure to state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Geoffrey Longley. My address is 606 Woodridge Drive, Fern Park, 32730. I'm here to speak in opposition, unfortunately, to this application. I'm from the neighborhood just south of there, the Lake of the Woods. It's just down Oxford, Lake of the Woods Drive in that part. And I've spoken to over 24 of our community members, and none were in support of this application. It's mainly on account of their outbound traffic. The way that they turn out from their drive-through probably would combine with the Chick-fil-A traffic, unlike the recommendation there, unfortunately. And Chick-fil-A does a really good job of moving their people through, but that northbound turning lane coming left off of Oxford is always backed up 10 cars deep, and this would only add to that traffic. So, I mean, we had 3 people and the people I talked to that have had accidents in that intersection, the 436 in Oxford, in the last 2 years. So we just don't think it's really your staff said in their recommendation that, traffic generated by the special exception is not expected to exceed the previous use of a laundromat. We can't really reconcile that with our experiences of drive-through restaurants in the area. And if that's the case, we'll all be happy. But that laundromat, it did not produce much traffic, and any drive-through restaurant, functionally speaking, would generate more. So we don't really think Oxford Road has the capacity to deal with this addition. We would love to have it in the area, but I don't know what you need to do about traffic again, because this isn't really that stage. But unfortunately, I have to register opposition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to address that concern?
Sure. I believe we would generate a traffic impact analysis for just this intersection if required under the site plan application. I believe we could get a traffic engineer to perform such an analysis. Generally, they would just look at regular intersections, but seeing as this is a busy shopping center, they could meet that request.
Yes, Commissioner Zembauer?
And this might be for Mr. Dredge. As I hear this unfolding, we have the Oxford Road redevelopment project that's already been discussed, moved forward, deals cut, so forth. Hasn't traffic studies, at least some initial ones, already been performed in this corridor?
Yes, this does not show the improvement of Oxford.
Understood.
Okay. And Oxford Road in that area will have divided concrete separation in the middle, so you will not be able
to make that turn.
Yes, and also it'll be designed in that area to be 2-lane, but also when the traffic warrants the 4-lane, will be restriped to 4-lane. It's designed in that area to be 4-lane, but 2-lane striped for parking spaces, and when it's warranted, will be going for 4-lane.
Understood. I would just ask that maybe you get with Mr. Lunsford? Longley, I'm sorry. And maybe help him find where that information's at so he and his neighbors know what's going to happen in the Oxford Road area, at least what's anticipated and planned, because I get the sense he and his neighbors don't know what has been talked about over the last several years in moving forward with the design changes in that Oxford corridor. So that may be very helpful to you and your neighbors.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Could solve a couple problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Any other public comment? Anyone here who did not get to fill out a form? All right, we'll close public comment, and I will entertain a motion on this item.
So moved. You want me to read it for you?
Well,
Guess you do.
A couple of options there.
I was waiting for District Commissioner.
well, since
you're the
I'm
chair.
chairing, I figured I'd let somebody else make the
Madam
motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion to recommend the Board of County Commissioners approve the special exception associated development order for a drive-through in the C2 zoning classification located on the south side of State Road 436 at the southwest intersection of State Road 436 and Oxford Road with the latest addendum that staff has brought forward that was given to us just before this.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion passes unanimously. Next item is number 44. Ms. Parkhurst, or someone standing in for Ms. Parkhurst?
Mr. Dredge, if you could get with this resident before he gets too far away into the holidays.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ruth Goldstein, for the record, Building Division.
Welcome. Go ahead and present your item.
Item number 44 is a request for an order to be imposed declaring the unoccupied structure located at 1814 Knox Avenue, Sanford, a public nuisance and requiring corrective action to be taken by the record property owners. On September 13th, do you have a paragraph? You don't have it.
Not for this.
Thought it was sent.
No, it was not.
My apologies, the PowerPoint was not sent.
Oh, well, we will follow along.
Okay. September 13th, 2022, and amended October 25th, 2022, the board issued a notice of determination of public nuisance for the unoccupied structure. This notice ordered that the structure be repaired or rebuilt in compliance with the Florida Building Code or be abated through demolition. To date, no corrective actions have been taken. There continue to be a steady decline in the conditions of the property. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide the record property owners the opportunity to appear before the board to state why the structure does not create a public nuisance and why the property should not be abated. Pursuant to Chapter 168 Seminole County Code, notice of this hearing was received by the record property owners. On September 20th, 22, pursuant to Chapter 168 Seminole County Code, the Seminole County Sheriff's Office served the summons to appear, along with the notice of determination on Cheryl Ziegler, Karen Sanders, Daryl Sanders, Andre Sanders, Cynthia Barber, care of Karen Sanders, who are the record property owners. Staff recommends that the board issue an order declaring the unoccupied structure a public nuisance and require corrective action to be taken by January 12th, 2023. In the event the record property owners do not take corrective action by January 12th, 2023, it's further recommended that the board direct staff to abate the public nuisance. And I have the building official, Bob Pike, here for any further questions.
Commissioner Zembauer?
When the PowerPoint shows up, if it does, this will conclude my presentation.
I think there may be some
Not quite
questions
yet,
for
it
you.
won't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Zembauer.
When was the first date this was noticed by code enforcement or anyone else? I got the September dates, I got the October dates, but do we have a record of when this was first notified to an owner? Verified, notified to an owner. It sounds like we have quite a few owners on this, so I suspect this is a inheritance.
Yes, I'm looking for that right now. Mr. Pike, do you have that information on you by any chance?
I'm assuming it went through the code enforcement process.
Nuisance abatement process. I don't have the original.
The summons was.
So you're saying code enforcement never weighed in initially?
The notice of determination was filed on September 15th. You said you were already tracking that one?
Correct.
Okay.
What I want to know is, did code enforcement initiate or originally cite this property, and if so, when was their first interaction?
Not to my knowledge, code enforcement, unpermitted construction hasn't been involved. But Seminole County, well, I'll defer to Rebecca.
So,
Sure. For the record, Rebecca Hammock, Development Services Director. So this is a nuisance abatement
Understood.
through the building division. So we have a code enforcement officer, Kyle Kasich, who visits sites if we have a complaint for unpermitted construction.
Right.
And then we also have a nuisance abatement list where the inspector, the building official, will view the property, and if they find it unsafe, that needs to be demolished or repaired, we add it to our nuisance abatement list.
Right.
So the first step is normally we notify the district commissioner's office through a memo, and then we will send a letter to the property owner, and we first bring, like we had on the consent agenda this morning, where we bring a couple items to ask the board, request the board to deem it a public nuisance. And then after that, we set a date at that meeting for a show cause public hearing, which that's where we are at this stage. We're at the show cause public hearing.
understood. And what I'm trying to figure out is, of the multitude of owners that were recited, when was the first owner notified that they were in noncompliance? Was that September? I don't think so.
So the summons was filed with the sheriff's office on September 15th, 2022.
Summons to appear.
Yeah, and then the summons and a copy of the notice was served to the property owners on September 20th, 2022.
So as far as the process goes, there was no interaction before this timeline. Is that correct? In other words, they weren't contacted and told, you're in noncompliance, you have a problem, you need to get to the building department and get this squared away.
Commissioner
We
Zembauer,
just-
if I may, I'm so sorry. I feel like if I could direct you to page 793
Yep.
of our agenda, the amended notice of determination, page number 2, line number 6, may answer your question. Notice of the above findings were transmitted to the owners of record of the above reference structure on December 2nd, 2021 via certified mail. Is that the answer to the question you're seeking?
Well, I've got that, but I'm trying to make a determination, was there anything,
Prior
any
to that.
interaction prior to that?
But it was before September of 2022.
Correct. No, that's the summons. I got that part. I'm trying to figure out how long this ultimately is going on.
21. Okay.
So, as Commissioner Lockhart stated, it appears to have begun in 2021. I don't know if there was any verbal communication with the property owners. Normally, it's done through the mail. If they happen to call the county, then sometimes there's conversations that occur throughout the process.
Understood.
But a lot of times we don't have phone numbers for the property owners. But Bob may have more information.
I'll wait till you get further along with the...
Commissioner, if I might, one distinction is Chapter 168 is our public nuisance chapter. The main criteria for utilization of that chapter is that the property is abandoned and that it is not physically being occupied. If it was being occupied, it would have gone through our code enforcement board.
Right. But a determination had to be made initially that it was abandoned.
And that is done by staff. And when I believe that they have a list of properties that they, on a watch list, so to speak.
Okay.
When they are starting the process under Chapter 168, one of the first steps is to send the legal descriptions to the county attorney's office to make sure that the property is properly identified before they start sending out notices and things of that nature.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Do you want Mr. Pike to take a crack at it?
No. I think I'll get with the owner's representative when they get up there and
Sounds good.
find out where we're at. Thank you.
Any other questions for our staff?
I have none.
No? Okay. All right. Would the respondent like to, I think you're here. We do. Yeah. Would you like to say anything to the board?
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Sanders. I reside at 2025 Chase Avenue in Sanford. I am the representative for the property. There are 5 owners. One is holding out. I have an investor that is willing to purchase the property to rehab it. There's a pending partition before Judge Rudisill any day now to have that one person removed off of the property deed so we can go ahead and sell it to the investor. I am just here asking for an extension on this till perhaps the end of March 2023.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Herr?
Yes, this is in my district, and this has gone on for quite a bit of time. What's the significance of the end of March, and what was the basis for the comment? It's in front of Judge Rudisill any day now.
The pending partition.
I understand it's a pending partition. What gives you the impression that it's any day now? Dockets are set. Do you know if it's on a docket? Is it
I have a
out?
case number, and my attorney just this morning spoke with the judicial assistant, and she said as soon as they get a cancellation, she's calling him in so he can go before Judge Rudisill.
So he's on a cancellation list?
Yes.
Okay. And the significance of March?
Just giving us ample time to make sure that it's done and sold. It may be done before then, but I'm just looking at perhaps the end of March.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Commissioner Zember.
Ma'am, when was the first time you became aware of this? Is it back in 2021? December of 21? Or one of the other owners? Are you an owner or an owner?
Yes, I am an owner.
Okay.
One of the other persons on the deed received the information, but she didn't share it with the rest of us. I went to the courthouse to pay the taxes, and I was told then that the paper was sent to Cynthia Barber, letting her know. She never contacted us to tell us anything or ask us what we were going to do. So she is not on the property legally. I hired an attorney to do a partition to get her name off of it. She offered to buy all of us out at market value. Well, she was paid to repair the roof 2 years ago, and she did nothing. So I asked the courts to send the papers to me in my name instead of to her, because that's a fiasco.
Okay. I noticed the owners have similar names, but there's some different names.
Yeah, my brothers and
sisters. Are they all
sisters.
siblings?
Yes.
Okay.
Except that one person, Cynthia Barber.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Am I good? You have another question?
I don't have another question, but it's my district, so I'm going to make a recommendation. I struggle with this because this has gone on for a very long time, and the last time we were all here talking about this, there was this notion that one didn't know what the left hand was doing. At that point, we all knew that there were issues with communication. It's still a blight on the neighborhood. Is the investor going to tear it down?
I don't know what his intentions are. He said he was going to rehab it.
Okay, then we do know what his intentions are. Rehab is not a tear down. So I would be inclined to grant an extension for this. I struggle with the end of March. That's another 90-plus days. It's 100 and some days. I will go ahead and grant it until April 1st, so April Fool's Day. It has to be done before then. That would be my recommendation, and I would ask that you are in contact with our staff every 30 days between now and then. And our staff is to bring it back to us sooner than April 1st if, in fact, the judge denies the dismissal or whatever that may be. If things change and it needs to come back, it comes back. But we're not going to wait till April to figure out what we're doing next if something changes that would warrant that we do this sooner. It's not fair to the rest of the neighborhood.
I will second that motion.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Is it possible for our county attorney to maybe call over and explain the circumstances, maybe get one of the judges to take it up?
Judges seem to be on their own schedule.
Oh, trust me, I got that part. I'm not trying to put a wrench in the spokes, but...
Perhaps a
Okay.
different suggestion is that we write to Judge Rudisil with a copy to his judicial assistant indicating the actions of today.
And I have the case number if you'd like.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. Thank you. If you would give that to Ms. Hammock, who's sitting behind you, and we're going to move on to our next agenda
I
item.
will, and I do have a question. You said to report it every 30 days to whom?
When you talk to Ms. Rebecca Hammock, who's sitting directly behind you, to give her the case number, she'll give you instructions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
ma'am.
for being here.
Yes.
All right.
Rebecca, could you find out who the lawyer is? Thank you.
All right, Mr. Applegate, our county manager's report.
I have, just one second, I thought we had one more. No, it's a duplicate. The only thing I want to say is I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. This is our last meeting, and it's going on a year, and I just want to thank you for all the consideration you've given staff this year. staff, all of us have been through a lot with the two storms, and I just can't thank staff enough. I wish everybody in the county a Merry Christmas, happy holiday season, and a safe New Year's. And thank you again for all that you did with staff, both mid-year and during the budget process. I can tell you that it was greatly appreciated by staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, County Attorney's report.
No report at this time.
All right, thank you. Moving on to District Commissioners and Committee reports, starting out with Commissioner Delary, District 1.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To a reappointment, there'd be one motion, 3 individuals. Dennis Langlos, 2-year term, January 1st, 2023, Agricultural Advisory Committee. Tom Minter, 2-year term, starting January 1st, 2023, Agricultural Advisory Committee. And Paul Zukrimski, 2-year term, started January 1, 2023, for the Historic Commission. That'd be one motion, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Also want to announce, I think I sent everyone an email yesterday, Sunrail Links is doing a new connection from the Lake Mary Sunrail Station to the Seminole State College. I want to give special thanks and efforts to Mike Heffinger, who's the ED on Sunrail, and Mercedes Bermejo for Seminole State, and Mark from Evoke, working hard on that. They're actually going to be also doing a discount on fare to the students as well.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah. Then last Saturday, December the 10th, we had a Santa Lucia Festival. Special thanks goes to the Seminole County Historic Society, Dr. Deborah Bauer, Anthony Amadia, Michael Langro, Terry Patterson, Bennett Lloyd, Chief Kinley of the Fire Department, and the Seminole County School Chorus for their dance performance. I want to thank Ashley Water from the school system helping put all that together. They did a phenomenal job. And if you weren't there, I know the chairman was, but if you weren't there, there was almost or right around 800 people there. It was truly inspirational to see everyone there. So
Great turnout.
they did a great turnout. I want to thank staff for everything. And then I also got an email that we have a citizen in Seminole County that just turned 107 years old.
Get out.
And she's as spry as you would believe. And I'd like for us to send her a letter, recognize her, and just, basically just saying happy birthday to a wonderful lady. Her name is Grace Lapine. She just turned 107.
That's great.
So,
sounds good to me.
Is there any issues with that?
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Good.
We'd like us to all go and sign it.
That's right. And I'm also very sorry to announce the passing of a very dear friend and a person that we've all worked with for many years, Dan Holzenbach. Dan passed away this past week. Dr. Holzenbach was very instrumental at UCF and all the things that he did, and the list goes on and on and on. My interaction with Dr. Holzenbach was with Kids House. He was on that board. He was one of the founding individuals for it in the late 90s, and he'll be very missed. And his work is definitely will move on. And I know that the Celebration of Life, well, I think it's on January 7th. It's a Saturday. If you need any more information, please contact Fred. Fred Kittinger, I think his name is? Yes. Yeah, Fred Kittinger. I think he has all the information as well. I want to wish everybody happy holidays, and looking forward to spending the time with the family. End of my report.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
On that specific thing, Dan Holzenbeck, I'm sure that all of you have served with him in one form or another, and he was a wonderful addition to this community and did great things for UCF and other. I have asked the staff, and I do believe that it's in what we saw today, that we have a resolution in his behalf. If that's okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. A resolution on his behalf and family, and I would appreciate if that would be okay with everyone.
fine with that. I mean, he was truly not only a statesman, but a gentleman.
Yes, he was.
He was truly amazing.
Commissioner Constantine, it's your district report time. If you have something else you'd like to share?
No, I just wanted to do that with Mr. Holstenbeck. I think it's Commissioner
I'm so
Zimbauer's turn.
sorry. I did skip you, Commissioner
You can.
Zimbauer. It
It's
was
okay.
not
I'll go
intentional
last.
at all.
I'll make one motion. I've got a lot of board appointments to do. Agriculture Advisory Board, reappointing Clay Archie for a 2-year term starting January 2023. Agriculture Advisory Board, reappoint Jim Hunter for a 2-year term starting January 2023. Contractor Examiners Board, reappoint Mark Wesson for a 1-year term, January 23. Library Advisory Board, reappoint Christopher Lucier to a 1-year term starting January 2023. Historical Commission Board, reappoint Robert Hughes for a 2-year term starting January 2023. New appointment Deborah Bauer for a 2-year term starting January 2023. Parks and Preservation Committee, reappoint Pasha Baker for a 3-year term starting January 2023. Appoint Joshua Meminger for a 3-year term starting January 23, and he will be replacing Joe Humphreys, and I would like a resolution of appreciation sent to Mr. Humphreys. And the Seminole County Industrial Development Authority, reappoint Cole Cupertino for a 4-year term starting January 2023.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody about the Asian Lantern Festival, which is still going on at the Central Florida Zoo, and I got to tell you, I had the first time my son and daughter-in-law have my granddaughter literally by myself, was to go to the Lantern Festival.
I ran into you, and you were not by yourself.
Oh, my mother showed up, yeah. Okay. Well,
Just saying for all those moms out there.
Yeah,
She sent grandma with them, too.
They never let me take her anywhere, but that's all changed. She had a great time, except the problem is she went to the zoo after that and she asked her parents, where's the ice cream and the potato chips? So, anyway, also I put in front of you and passed out a multi-page document. This is the new master plan for the Sanford Orlando International Airport. I would encourage each of you to maybe browse through it. Some exciting things they have planned over there for making strides and putting, Sanford Orlando International Airport on the map once and for all. The consultant is ZHA. I think some of you know those folks. It's going to require the airport, the county, the city, all working in the same direction to get this airport to the next level. So I would encourage you each to meet with those folks and share your concerns, your inputs, and so forth moving forward. Next up is the Parkstone water supply. The good news is I met with our staff as well as consultants out there. Now the consultants have been back out there and identifying alternative water sources which we may be able to leverage under the CFWI regulations and giving us the capability of having additional cup or credit towards our cup. I would like to encourage our staff as soon as possible, since we are spending money with our consultants out there, that we get our letter of intent handled for the owners of Parkstone. Not sure where that stands, but I think it would be wise that we probably don't want to be spending a whole lot of money with our consultants moving forward if we don't have that agreement in place on the letter of intent. So if someone could give me an update on that. And of course, in and around the airport, just a quick mention, a lot of paving, road paving has been done over on Red Cleveland, Marquette, Ohio, and a few surrounding streets are now completed. Also, 415 Celery Avenue traffic signal, anticipated completion is March or April of 2023. I know a lot of us and locals have been dying to see that occur. 417 extension study that is to go to the Sanford Orlando International Airport is well underway, on track. There'll be some public meetings coming up soon. That will be a key in helping Sanford and the airport make its way. So that's coming up. Also, Econ River Wilderness Area, there's a hike and habitat restoration project coming up. It'll be coming up January 7th, 23. If you'd like to attend that, it's going to be a sand pine thinning out, to thin out the sand pines in that area, which are troubling for the longleaf pines and so forth because of burned habitats and the fact that they fall over. So it's eradication of the sand pines in that area. So it's a good time to get out. You get to hike, you get to learn a bit about the pine trees. That'll be on 1/7/23. Those wishing to attend, just go to the website, Seminole County website, for the SERVE program, and then you can read all about that. That said, I would wish each and every one of my fellow commissioners, staff, everybody here at the county, a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hope that you and your family are safe and joyous, and hope that each one of us can reflect on what we're thankful for this time of year and the things that we look forward to doing with our families and our fellow workers in the upcoming year. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
All right, now Commissioner Constantine, if you have something.
And to all, a good night. I did want to point out that where Commissioner Delory and Commissioner Lockhart were at the St. Lucian event in the morning or early, I was there late, and I will tell you that there was such a glow from the presenters and the people that organized it, because, as you had said, it was a very successful. And I even hear that Commissioner Delory spoke Swedish at the event, which is always wonderful to know, that is an extra skill that you have. For those of you that had other events, I just wanted to tell you that how well the ethics training was with the county attorney's office. We did not have Mr. Applegate doing his normal things, so it was quite a pleasant surprise. And no, all kidding aside, Brian, you do a great job, but this really was a very good job. It was well orchestrated, put together, and Desmond and everyone in your office, Paul, deserves a real pat on the back. Thank you very much. I think that Commissioner Lockhart and I were both at the Sanford Parade of Lights this past week, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of great parades in Seminole County, but that one was so well attended this year. It was unbelievable. People were just all over the place, and it was great to see such wonderful participation by the citizens and et cetera. It was a wonderful thing. I do have, also, I wanted to say I have a number of different board appointments, and I'll make them in one fell swoop. I would like to move for the Agriculture, these are all reappointments, by the way. Agriculture Advisory Committee, Rex Cloutz and Shelley Nelson. Board of Adjustment, Austin Beagley. Contractors Examiner, Lamar Stokes. Historic Commission, Lynn Dichter, Donna Bundy, and Rosalie Cook. And the Library Advisory, Rosemary Clausen.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. I would also like to tell you that on good news, I think many of you have received this already. The Florida Association of Counties annual calendar came out with the Keep Calm and Love Water. I will tell you that they have a judge of one. And as president, I had over 500 applications from 52 different counties. And if you have not received it, you all will receive it. But we got the back cover. I wonder why. But it was a beautiful picture of the St. Johns River. And
Aaron Malchievsky's.
Aaron, I wanted to congratulate you and everyone in that office. Also, I did want to tell you all, and I think you've all read in the front page of the paper this past week, another great American, great Seminole County resident, one that was also a Veteran of the Month, and someone that I would also ask us to please consider doing a resolution for his family still here that lives in Altamont Springs. Joe Kittinger passed away. Joe is considered to be the first person in space, and he is a long-time resident, was born in Florida, Tampa area, but moved over here after he retired, and he will be sorely missed. He was a wonderful addition to our community, and a close personal friend. Does anybody have a problem with doing a resolution for him? Thank you.
And by the way, he was Veteran of the Year.
Yeah, I think we gave him a
Veteran of the Year.
resolution for that.
Yeah. One other thing, the Friends of the Wekiva River have taken on a program to build at their expense, a pavilion at Katie's Landing. It's considered to be about $80,000 to $100,000. Katie Moncrief, who we all know, and by the way, I talked to her the other day. She's now 96 years old. Someone told me that she was not feeling well, and when I got her on the phone, she said, that is an exaggeration. I'm doing much better. But she is going to be paying for it. And the Friends of the Wekiva River are going to do it. And they have asked that we consider waiving all the permitting fees. I have talked to Ms. Hammock about it, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but and I've also talked to the county manager, and they felt that that would be appropriate since it is something it is a state park and it will be used for the benefit of the community. So if that would be, I would like to make that as a motion unless somebody has a question. I would like to make that.
Do we know what the dollar figure is?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'd love to have a little more information on that before I commit to waiving fees, I think.
We'd mind just a few minutes if Ms. Hammock came up.
I would like to see.
Yeah, I don't think now's the time to do that.
I'm sorry?
And again,
I don't think as a district report item. I mean, if we want to take that up and maybe have someone
I would
bring
like
that
to
us
put it
as
on
staff.
a future agenda if we could do that.
Yeah, I think that's a
If
future
possible,
agenda item, maybe.
that's fine with me. That's fine with me if that's okay with everybody else. It was just something that I do know that they had asked as a request. I can certainly appreciate you all wanting additional information. I think that the cost is minimal, though, and but that's fine. If you all don't mind putting it on a future agenda. And
Lee, when you do
through the
that,
staff.
look at the impact fees as well, if there are any.
yes.
It's just permit fees.
I understand. It is a pavilion for people to pull up canoes. I understand that.
Okay, maybe some impact fees.
And with that, that is the end of my report.
Fantastic. Commissioner Herr.
Thanks. I'm sorry I missed the ethics training. I had a previous commitment, but I did do the ethics training through the Florida Association of Counties, and I would say that is a very interesting source because you can do it at your own pace, rewind back through stuff. It was just a nice way to do it as a change-up. I did attend the Asian Lantern where I got to rat Commissioner Zimbauer out for not being alone with his granddaughter. And I thoroughly enjoy his mom, so it was memorable for me. It is a wonderful event if you haven't gone. It's very affordable. A lot of the evenings are selling out, and I would tell you that it's worth attending. I do have a series of board appointments that I would be happy to make. I'll do it all in one fell swoop. Contract Examiner Board, reappoint Heather McCandless as the consumer for a one-year term. Historic Commission, reappoint Marjorie Smith for a 2-year term and Beverly Mason for a 2-year term. Planning and Zoning, appoint Michael Lorenz to a 4-year term. Seminole County Port Authority, reappoint Amy Guilfoyle to a 4-year term.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I would also like a resolution of appreciation sent to the following people: Barbara Hughes for service on the Agricultural Advisory Board, Lori Patton on the Code Enforcement Board, Michael Caraway on the Seminole County Industrial Development Authority, and Bob Turnage on Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I also would like you to indulge me, because oftentimes I have a very short district report. I got an email from somebody that I thought was worth reading into the record. Good morning, Andrea. I live in Tall Tree Subdivision, I'll leave the address out, which is in your district. My husband and I have been homeowners there for 28 years. Over the course of time, we've done a number of upgrades to our home that have required a visit from Seminole County building inspectors, including a recent re-roof. Fortunately, we had the pleasure of having Brian Bradburn, one of your inspectors, visit our home a few weeks ago for the initial roof inspection. During his inspection, we shared with him our concerns about some of the missteps that occurred with the roofing contractor. Brian took a few moments to listen to our concerns, answer our questions about the roofing job and the permitting process. Brian's professionalism, experience, and ability to communicate with people who are not in the building trade was excellent. It's reassuring to know that the building inspectors in Seminole County are also watching out for the homeowner. Thank you for your time. I did ask their permission to read it into the record, but we often take time to complain about staff, not that we take time, but they get beat up here regularly, and I wanted to take a minute to give some good news to our staff. I think that is more the norm than the exception, but worthy of time spent. I'd like to recognize Commissioner Lockhart for a sizable donation to animal control in the name of one of my dogs that passed away recently, which I can't talk about because they are family members to me. Commissioner Zimbauer, with regard to the Sanford Airport Authority and the work that they're doing on roads around there, I have been engaged with the folks on Mellonville Avenue, as is Mike Blinn, Dino Lucarelli, Tony Nelson, and John Hawkins. There's a whole crew of us that were out there. We have an interest in being kept on that road on the sidewalk list and moved up the priority list. They want to be included in a traffic study, and they need speed reading devices, and they are exceptionally concerned about the trucks that continue to exit the airport down their road, because it is a straight shot, and it's super fun run. So if you'd like to bring that back to the airport, there are extreme concerns. I can't imagine it's the first time they've heard them.
Mellonville?
Mellonville.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, Merry Christmas to our team, to you all. This is your last Christmas as the interim county manager, and so God bless you, Bryant, for making it through the past year.
You hope.
Yeah, you hope, yes. I have faith in us, Bryant. But thank you for your service in this last, much longer than we expected time frame, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for putting up with
And Paul,
me.
you as well.
Yes.
I also failed to mention, at the parade, the Sanford Parade was incredible, and I'm proud to announce that my parish, All Souls, float won first prize for the second year in a row, 15,000 lights, and my friend who was up there as the angel, I don't know how many feet up in the air she was, but there was one disappointment. Commissioner Constantine went by my wife and I, did not wave. I was yelling. But of course, Commissioner Lockhart waves. And, but no, we were.
I was waving
and
at
I had,
everybody.
but the Knights of Columbus, my fellow Knights, worked night and day for I don't know how many weeks putting that float together. And I had nothing to do with that. But the parade was really fantastic. My wife commented, with COVID for 2 years, it was incredible to see that turnout. And you could just hear people, how excited they were to be there. It was great. Well done, Sanford.
I was very sorry to miss it as the district commissioner. I was out of town at a family wedding. But that is a great parade. We attended every year before I was elected.
Hey, we could do a
To go
team
hang and
building
have a
deal.
cocktail.
The BCC could put together a float for that next year. I have the trailer.
Let's Let's make it a work session.
I'm out as the angel. I'm just saying, I'm out as the angel. That leaves it to you. I defer.
Oh, heavens. That's awesome. Okay. That's great. A few items, talking about all of the appointments to all of our various boards and committees. There was a time back in the day when we would get an attendance report for each of our appointees to each of the boards before this process took place so that we could see who was actually participating. Some of these boards have reported to me that they actually have a hard time getting quorum sometimes, and it's frustrating for those who are there, who want to engage, who want to participate, when there are others who are there maybe not with the intention of participating frequently. So I would just ask staff if we could get back into the habit of providing those attendance reports. And of course, you all know who you want on those boards, but that was always helpful information for me. So I do not have any district appointments to make, but I do want to talk about some of our board appointments. The SANAC, the Sanford Airport Noise Abatements Committee, had a resignation of someone from their board representing the county, received a letter asking for a new appointment, and the only application that we received to fill that was a gentleman by the name of DJ Staub. I forwarded his information to you all.
There's another one, I forgot to bring it with me. There's a woman who is an air traffic controller.
Okay. Would you like us to table this?
Can we table it to the next meeting, please?
Yeah, table's the wrong word, forgive me. This was supposed to have been done back in September, so it is lagging.
I promise you I'll bring it at the next meeting.
She better be really awesome.
She used to be an air traffic controller and lives in the area.
Can she hear?
Jay,
All right,
Noise abatement, I mean, it's pretty important, you can hear
we
it.
will take it up in January, and we'll make sure that if she could please make an application through the county process, then we can.
I'll make sure that it gets to everyone.
Okay, fantastic. The Greater Orlando Sports Commission also had a resignation due to Ed Fury moving out of the county. Met with Chris Carmody and Jason Siegel, and kind of to get a feel for what are the characteristics of the type of individual that you would like to have in this role representing the county. And one of the names that surfaced was Kurt Esser, who is currently on the advisory board. He is the athletic director for Seminole State College, and expressed interest in moving him onto the executive board. He already knows all of the players, knows the mission. Seemed like a natural fit. Kurt is willing to do it, so I would recommend that we.
Move to approve, Kurt.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The board appointments, there are multiple, I stapled them, so let's see if there's enough there for y'all. Are there? Looks like I counted correctly.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
I know you've sent this out to us, so we've all seen it before. Just handing it out. I'd like to make a motion to approve your recommendation as submitted.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next thing I'd love to discuss is, and I know work session is like a dirty 12-letter word, but 2 words, but we have continued to talk about putting together a work session with the school board. The school board has expressed at a recent public meeting that they would like to have a work session with the county, where they have 2 new school board members, a new superintendent. We have 2 very important topics to cover. One is the interlocal agreement, and the other is sales tax. And they are interested in having discussions about both of those items. I would like to throw out there the opportunity that since both those topics also impact our cities, that we make it a work session with the school board, the 7 cities, and the county. And we have done that in the past, and yes, it's a little bit like herding cats, but I think we can do it, and I think that it might help to alleviate some of the issues of a lot of the, this group has a conversation, and then that group has a conversation, and then we wind up elongating a decision because we're waiting for everyone to have their meeting. So if we're all sitting around the table at the same time, at the same place, we might be able to knock a couple of these things out. So all I'm asking for is consensus from the board to schedule one of those sessions that we talked about today as a joint work session between the school board and the 7 cities.
I'm fine with that.
For those 2 purposes.
Agreed.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, before we move on, can we go back to the noise abatement? I was just notified that the person I was talking about is DJ. I got confused. It is a woman, so I'd like...
Fantastic.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Sorry for the confusion.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kendra, for tuning in.
Thank you.
It's fantastic. That's all I have. That's all I have. So if we have public that would like to comment?
Oh, yeah.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Just one thing, and this is all due respect. I sent a letter to you, open letter to you on the 7th concerning a couple of the appointments, chair appointments. And I recognize that you have the right to make the appointments as chair. It's just that I felt that with both Commissioner Delory and myself becoming chairs of very important regional committees, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I know I was not given, as per our rules and regulations, the ability to express to you my appointment requests that I asked you to reconsider those. And since I hadn't received anything, I just wanted to bring that up with all due respect. I would very much like to ask you to consider to make those changes.
Madam Chair, we have procedures that we all re-ratified at the beginning, and you're well within the procedures that we re-ratified.
I agree.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate the input.
Yeah, I would just say that, my only concern, and we have this opportunity to speak, that consistency on boards is important. I also understand change-up in boards is important for depth of knowledge and understanding that, I go back to when I was elected chair by you all, that Commissioner Carey came to me immediately and asked that I consider reappoint her to CFX because she was in turn for chair. And I thought it was the right thing to do, even though I was entitled to either appoint myself or someone else. From that aspect, I would say that I would ask that our chair, and probably has already reconsidered, just give that a thought process of what your thoughts are, and beyond that, I won't question. So I appreciate that.
So, Commissioner Constantine, prior to receiving your letter, I took the opportunity to reach out to the executive directors of both of the organizations that you mentioned in that letter. And both of the executive directors advised me that there would not be any damage done to this organization. There would be nothing would be lost in translation, and it was brought to my attention that your chairmanship actually is 2 years down the road, not immediate. So with that in mind, I took a thought process of diversification and have preached that throughout my time here, not only as an employee, but as a board member, that being siloed is not good for the organization and it's not good for our citizens. So I did make some changes, and that's what I decided to do with rationale that I think is supported by good business practices. So I appreciate your comments and I appreciate your letter.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just wanted to say that it is true that Commissioner Delory was up for chair of MPO for the next year, and I was up for chair in 2 years, or I was going to be vice chair and then chair. I just want to, again, to let you know that it was for a 2-year term, and I waited my turn for Commissioner Carey, who was on there for many years. I waited my turn, and I believe that, it is, I know that we have talent here on this board, but the fact of the matter, when you have someone that is up for that position, you are delaying and putting us out of position. And I, again, was just trying to point out that I felt that it would be in the best interest of our citizens that we kept the continuity for those positions.
Commissioner Herr?
Well, I guess I'm the elephant in the room, so I am the one that was appointed to CFX. The good news is that I had prior experience being the governor's appointee to that board, and therefore they've already asked me to entertain the idea of moving through the leadership position. So I don't think the county or the citizens will suffer a loss. I appreciate your position, but I think we're okay.
We all work hard for things, and
We do.
try.
And I think we've addressed the concern, and I think we've already voted, and those items that needed to be ratified were ratified, and I think we're good at this point, are we? All right. Moving on to public comment.
The first speaker I have is Joseph Principe. It's right here, sir. No, sir, right there. So say your name and address for the record.
Yeah. Joseph Principe, 1470 West 25th Street, apartment 205 in Sanford. And I'm here to speak about disability discrimination by the county clerk's office, and also the city of Sanford and several community agencies, I guess you could say. The point being that this seems to be a community-wide problem and it warrants the attention of the public. I'm appalled that it's even happening. They seem to be disregarding me as a human being in a very serious issue. And I remember you guys were saying earlier on in the meeting that you couldn't comment on court cases or something like that. Is that correct?
Yes, this is not an opportunity to discuss specific legal proceedings, but if there is some way that our staff can help you with whatever it is that you need assistance with, we can certainly make that happen.
Yeah, the problem is there isn't even a court case because the county clerk's office has been sitting on it for, and it's a domestic violence thing, and I'm not going to name any names or anything like that, but I filed it last week on last Monday, the 5th.
So
And they're still sitting on it.
Mr. Principe, here's what I'm going to suggest that you do. We have a deputy at the back of the room who would be able to take your name and all of your contact information, and then we can have the clerk of the court, who's normally here with us, reach out to you. Because we don't oversee the clerk of the court, he is his own constitutional officer. So we definitely want to get you to the right place. We want to get you the help that you need. And I know you've been sitting here all day waiting for the opportunity to speak to us, but I want to make sure we don't waste your time. So we need to get you to Mr. Malloy so that he can help you. All right?
That's the main clerk, Grant Malloy?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen that name before.
Yeah, but I'm confident that we can get help from before you leave here to get your contact information and get you pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, I had already spoken about this issue at the Sanford City Council meeting last night, and I'm sure there's like a video on YouTube somewhere of that too. So like pretty much everything that I was going to cover here was also covered in that as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming down, and we appreciate you being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Isaac Aldemessiah. Did I get your last name? Abdel-Messiah.
That's okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Isaac Abdel-Messiah, and I live at 486 Dogwood Court, Altamont Springs, 32714. The reason for my presence today is because of the problems faced regarding the refurbishment of a bridge in my neighborhood on Northwestern Avenue and Mahogany Lane over the Little Kaiva River. Since January 18th of this year, the bridge in my neighborhood has been worked on by Southland Construction Incorporated to make improvements to the roadway and surrounding drainage areas near the bridge, according to the county and previous Seminole County construction project manager Ron Ramos. When the construction first started on the bridge, residents who live near me, which is about 2 streets to the right of the bridge, and those who do not have a house directly next to the bridge, were confused by this project. Flyers explaining the reason for the renovation of the bridge, anticipated duration of the project, starting date, etc., were supposed to be placed on all the doors of residents in the neighborhood by the contractor, but only seemed to be placed on the doors of those who lived right near the bridge. Therefore, my house and others near it never received that flyer. To me, this is a cause for concern, and I felt as if I should be here today to address it, since the role of local government is to listen and understand the voice of the citizens they serve. I spoke with a few Seminole County employees last week who oversaw this project, such as Mr. Edward Holmes and Mr. Dredge over there, and I received more information about the project and why it was needed. Yes, I agree that the bridge was a cause for concern and needed to be refurbished and extended. Yes, I understand that the construction has been prolonged due to the recent storms and various supply chain issues in the whole country. However, all the citizens of the community should have been able to express their concern or ask questions regarding the project. How could they know about this project by not being notified about it? A variable messaging board on State Road 434 just doesn't cut it. What about those who have to commute to work early in the morning every day and then have to realize that the bridge they could use at one point was no longer accessible? No public question forum or town hall-like meetings were given for the community in the area to express possible concerns over noise and environmental pollution into the Little Wekiva River from the construction debris and traffic issues regarding the project. Due to the construction project, bus routes changed for students in the neighborhood. Residents in the neighborhood had to use detours to get to State Road 434, and so concern was raised for the local government and concern was raised for the local environment in the neighborhood over a project like this. To me, as someone who has lived in Seminole County for over 18 years, things like this must change. It is to my knowledge that the contractor of the project did not notify all residents of the project in the area. However, I have found out that other projects like this, for other projects like this, there is no need for a public forum to address concerns. Why? I ask that this practice be re-examined and that the commissioners over their specific district send volunteers or county employees to check up on residents of a neighborhood when a project like this occurs. I also ask that the BCC suggest the engineering division of the county, as well as the Seminole County Public Works Department, to make sure that all the citizens of an area know about all projects in their local community to avoid problems like this. As someone who will hopefully lead and be a part of the future generations of this county, I hope my message is taken seriously, and I know that Seminole County is a great county, but I know we can all make it better. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
And I would ask the acting county manager to get with his team to see how we can improve that process that you've outlined.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Have a great
absolutely.
day.
You too.
Thank you. Any other comments?
We have more speaker forms.
Okay, great.
Okay, Bill Hyde.
Mr. Hyde, and who's after Mr. Hyde?
Then we have Katrina Shaddix, followed by Ms. Espedito.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. My name is Bill Hyde, 2379 Audley Street. I just want to remind you all that on this Saturday, we will again have Wreaths Across America at the Oviedo Cemetery. Some of you have been there. If you haven't, it doesn't take a lot of your time, but it will reach deep into your heart. We will be recognizing those who have passed in all branches of service, including the Merchant Marines this year. So if you get a chance, we'd appreciate you stopping by. It's not a very long thing, but your appearance would be appreciated. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Same to you. Thank you, Bill.
Katrina Shaddix.
Madam Chair, may I have 6 minutes since I represent a nonprofit organization?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Katrina Shaddix, 1011 Seneca Oaks Court, Geneva, 32732. And I have some paper. Should I give that to you? Or?
Are these for the commissioners? You can give them to the clerk.
Okay.
Thank you, Katrina.
First of all, congratulations to Commissioners Zimbauer and Lockhart on your re-elections.
Thank you.
And huge thanks to the county for seeking legal and permanent custody of the poor dogs confiscated from Midway resident Brandon Blake on November 22nd. I would like to help get those dogs adopted, so when it becomes available, if you could share a link, I'll post it and round up some adopters. And I was wondering if the county is going to pursue actions to prohibit Blake from ever owning animals again and permanently revoke his dog training business license and address the puncture wounds that are on the dogs, which have indicated that they were being trained to and are forced to fight or defend themselves. I hope the county will also address the fact that self-professed Midway community leader Emery Green, who very frequently asked this county for favors, not only knew about the puppy mill and the dog fighting, the animal abuse, he condoned it and told a county
Ms.
employee-
Shaddix,
This is not a forum to
yeah, thanks, Commissioner Zembauer.
call people out. I mean, it's just not appropriate.
You weren't here earlier today, but
Oh, yes.
I did read for the public's benefit that the opportunity for public comment is not to specifically call out individuals or defame anyone.
okay.
So we're going to avoid using specific names and specific instances that you.
Okay. Can you edit that out from the video?
Not now.
Well, it is what it is, but moving forward, we're going to try and not do that.
Okay.
All right.
All right, no problem, thank you. And getting to the packet of papers, the first page is regarding P&Z appointee. Am I allowed to say his name? Or? How about y'all just read that and let me know? And let me know if I submitted the public records request appropriately, and we can do that later. We don't have to go into anything else now. The second, third, and fourth pages are from FWC's Wildlife 2060 initiative, and there's a few important things there in red and italics. It addresses the crisis we're facing about the loss of wildlife habitat. And a lot of citizens who, like the Citizens for Paddock Way today, a lot of them cite their opposition to these developments because of wildlife that they love. And I was wondering if it's possible to offer groups of citizens help in purchasing the green spaces using the MSBUs, like the county did with Deer Run residents. When the golf courses were purchased for conservation and passive park usage, and maybe if that could be a stopgap measure until the county passes a lands buying program, whenever. Also, no communication needed for that. And the last page is the best page. This is the fun part. It is Bear Warriors United Gardening for Nature booklet. It goes to print on the 28th. And very, very proud of this. It's just beautiful and colorful, and it's all about doing good things, but it's presented in a way that's non-judgmental, and it just helps everyone do a lot of great things for nature. And along with this, Bear Warriors United is hoping we can partner with the county and the school board, which I'm going to be going to their meeting in about 30 minutes. And when I spoke to Madam Chair earlier this week, she even commented about possibly getting a UF-IFAS to do this. But what I would love to do is have 3 types of garden on every single school board, not only public school property, but private schools, homeschools. I know you don't have anything to do with that. But Bear Warriors United is willing to pay for the seeds, the soil, the raised beds. We're willing to get the community volunteers to go in on this and be the mentors for kids, to teach them how to grow these gardens for food, for pollinators, for wildlife, and all that's detailed in that page too, so we can go over that later. And I appreciate the time letting me speak. Thank you. Sorry for calling out him.
That's all right.
Okay.
I'm not sure he'll think it's all right, but we're going to let it go for right now.
So our last speaker is Ms. Esposito. She has some things she would like to show on the overhead.
Hello.
Hello.
5040 Hawks Hammock Way.
And would you state your name for the record, please?
Wafa Esposito.
Thank you.
I don't feel so bad taking the 3 minutes this time. So far, you had a light schedule. I have been watching, as you know, on and off. Unfortunately, not in the last year, but most of the projects that I came to look at. And the tree element is always missing, and I cannot pin it out. Is it something? So when I look at the root 46 project, that was a state project. I came too late to that to find out they weren't providing trees, just structure. In a commercial area where there is a lot of stores, restaurants, and a lot of apartments, and more to come. That's at the height of International and 46. Then I keep looking like today's project, there is no tree element. Does that come like later? If we look at the county project, which is I went to the meeting, the bridge renovation, I approached, there was no tree element. And I approached 3 engineers, I heard 3 versions of 3 different people on the meeting. Okay, so the tree element always seems to be escaping, even like today's presentation. I was just wondering why. Then I go across the country. I don't want to talk about third world or advanced countries, just our own country in some states. And I see they have regulations where they promote trees. So this one here, in the city I used to live in, which is a part of the county, that they voted on, like, I came sometimes to the meetings here, say, we need to breathe here. Like, I understand we have reserves, but living with the trees, okay, and promoting those, and I'm not talking big oak trees, I'm talking about small shade trees that do not interfere with the utilities, do not require water to take over. Native trees to provide shades, because we build these beautiful things and then we really lack shade. Again, Orange Boulevard, I think I caught it on time, and your staff as usual, whether it's the inspector as somebody praised or the people I interacted with, they are wonderful. It's just like, it seems like there is a missing link where we miss on these trees. Then I go around the country and I see, they have, I don't know where this come from, tree ordinance? Is it due to the Ecological Advisory Board they have? How can we not miss on those things? Is it me I'm seeing this missing link? Or I just want to hear,
So if we could ask Ms. Esposito to get with Rebecca, we do have a tree ordinance. Most of that stuff comes at final site plan. I don't think we're ignoring trees. I think we would all agree we're definitely not ignoring trees in this county.
We have more trees here.
We've got more trees today than we had in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But we do have a program and a process, and I'm sure Ms. Hammock would be happy to share that with you.
I'm talking about trees to inhabit with, like definitely, and the project of FDOT 46, there is no shade trees.
Ms. Esposito, I appreciate you and your passion for the trees, and I think maybe it's, there's maybe a planting trees in the right-of-way is not something we like to do. It's dangerous, and there are regulations around it that talk about where they can go and how they can go. And so we'll let the experts who work with trees and rights-of-way and planning talk about tree projects. I know that we have cities that do tree giveaways. If you live in a city, you can go get a tree from when they do their tree giveaway.
Well, and FDOT has their own regulations and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
It might be just worth putting it to the public. Maybe people would want that.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, is there anyone else?
No,
All right. If there's nothing else to come before the board, we'll adjourn at 5:04.
Merry Christmas, all.
Yay.
Happy holidays. We made it.